Hey guys, how are you? I hope all is well your way. Pray you guys have had an amazing day. Black Diamond, you're beautiful. Thank you for being a continued blessing. Sister Cindy, thank you. God bless you. You're beautiful, sis. I really appreciate you guys. Really appreciate you guys. So, wanted to talk about this. This is what I would consider to be more of a prophetic pop up. And the reason I say that is because this is something that has been heavy on my heart today. This is something that God just really dealt with me heavily on today. I had a dream last night, but I don't even remember what the dream was. I remembered the dream when I first woke up, but it didn't seem to be anything that significant. So I don't necessarily remember it. But today, something happened dealing with the term of accountability, where God really went in on me. And at the same time, I went in on myself. I always tell people I'm harder on myself than you can ever be. I'm harder on myself than you could ever think to be. And so I'm going to talk about that after everybody comes in. And you guys know I try to give y'all a little bit of space, for people to come in. So give me 10 minutes today for people to come in. I'll tell you if it's 5, but I'm thinking it's going to be more so 10 because I got 2 things that I'm going to get off my chest. First and foremost, you remember I told you guys, and this is just our, warm up. Somebody tried to steal money out of my account. It's been the month of March. Somebody went into my somebody got my debit card information somehow, and they tried to charge, or they charged $882.01 to my card. And this is around the time where I got my new shop. I'm spending a lot of money at the shop or what have you. And so when I saw that come in, I'm like, I don't remember spending that, but at the same time, I've been making a lot of purchases, so maybe it's something that I don't know about. Well, it said Xfinity Mobile, and I do have my phone is with Xfinity Mobile. So I'm thinking maybe it's a mistake because my bill at one point was $82 every month. So I'm like, maybe it's a mistake. Maybe they tried to put in 82 and they put in 882. So I called Xfinity Mobile, and they were like, no, we didn't do it or what have you. I checked my bill. Sure enough, they didn't take any money out. I go and look at it, and it says that I purchased an iPhone from somebody. So whoever this character is, he's claiming that I purchased an iPhone 11 from him for $882. Make it make sense. So if you don't know, I have the iPhone 12. I've had this for a couple of years now. Why would I downgrade? So anyhow, what ends up happening is I filed a chargeback. I called PayPal. I ended up filing a chargeback. They sent me a new card. It is what it is. I kind of brush it out of my mind. Figure I'll get my money back. No need to worry about that anymore. I get an email yesterday. Whoever this character is. Now, when I first read the email, I was just assuming that I thought maybe they had already given my money back, and that the guy was going back and challenging it, like he went back and filed a different chargeback. But it turns out it's the same case, that it never got fully closed. The guy is literally fighting. He is literally fighting. Like he's fighting my chargeback. The thief. Y'all, the thief is fighting my chargeback. The thief. It posted his address and his phone number and his email address. Like I said, this is just small talk while everybody come in, okay? This is just small talk. The dude lives in Stone Mountain, Georgia. I know his first and last name. I know his email address and his address if he's not using false information. Now, the email address has to be accurate because that's what's on. So the email address is going to lead to an IP address, which is one. I said these thieves on today, they cannot. You cannot be that. You can't be that. Y'all stop smoke. Just do me a favor. Don't smoke no more weed, because I'm literally getting to a point where I'm starting to be concerned about the brain cells of people. Like I'm really getting to the point where I'm starting to think, do people actually fight for their brain cells? Like, people don't respect their brain cells, because you got to be smarter than that. The minute they filed their charge back, it should have been, oh crap, I'm caught, let it go. No, this individual decides it's got to be a kid. I refuse to believe that this is a grown man or a grown woman. I refuse to believe this got to be a kid. This individual decides, no, I'm going to fight. And they put in their iPhone 11. So what I had to end up doing was I had to take a picture of my Xfinity account and send it to PayPal showing what I pay every month. All the same, take a picture of the thing showing that I have an iPhone 12. Also, use a little bit of wisdom. I did a Google search to see what's the going rate of the iPhone 11. $330 to $400. $330 to $400. Why would I pay somebody $882 for a used iPhone 11 when I bought this brand new? It's the craziest thing. So I'm just saying, be careful out there. I think that what happened is one of those places I went shopping at. One of the cashiers or somebody got a hold of my information and they decided to use it or what have you. I asked PayPal about me filing criminal charges, and the guy didn't see. He was like, "Well, let's just go ahead and finish the investigation." I'm like, "What? Forget that." So I am going to be filing charges or what have you because this is somebody that is clearly needs to go to jail. This is somebody that, wisdom would have said, "Hey, I'm caught. I should have let that go." But they didn't think like that. In their head, they said, "I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep fighting." And PayPal said, "We need your email. We need your phone number. We need all of that." I had to resist the temptation to call this individual. I had to resist the temptation to call this individual. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. I had to submit more information on yesterday to prove that I didn't try to buy an iPhone 11 from somebody or what have you. But it is what it is. But that's that. So again, I always try to give you a little bit of small talk before we get in. Do me a favor, be sure to like and share. And I'll just kind of go ahead and start here. And even at the 10-minute mark, we kind of bleed into it. What led me to want to talk about this on today? I woke up today early, earlier than I normally wake up. Typically, I wake up around 1 o'clock because I'm usually going to bed about 6 a.m. And today I woke up and I remember seeing my clock. It was like 11:30 something, like 11:36 or something like that. I remember seeing my clock and thinking that's got to be a one. They can't be 11. When I saw it, I was really pleasantly pleased. At first, I was going to go back to sleep. First, I had it in my head to go back to sleep. I couldn't go back to sleep, so I laid there until it was like 11:50 something, right? And then I decided to got up and start doing all the things that you do when you first wake up. And what happened about 12:30? I look on my phone, I see a text message, and I see something that I've missed. Someplace I was supposed to be, and I'm not going to talk about that, but someplace I was supposed to be, and I missed it, or what have you. I made a mistake, and I remember in that moment, initially, I felt well, not just initially, I felt like crap. Like I felt like crap, like oh crap, I missed it. I was supposed to do this, I was supposed to do that. Then I started thinking about other situations and stuff like that where the Lord started dealing with me. The Lord started dealing with me. So I put it in my head. I put it in my head. One, the first thing that I have to do is I got to make sure I take accountability within myself. Within myself, which is what like I said, I'm probably the hardest on me than anybody could be. I take accountability within myself and just say, okay, I got to get better. One thing I'm gonna just kind of give you this little wisdom here. When you're crossing over into a new season, when God increases your speed limit, you have to do something different than you did in the last season in order if you want to keep up with yourself. Hopefully that makes sense. With me, with all these added responsibilities, what I've been doing in the last season, which is putting my schedule in my head, it's not working for me. It's just not working. No matter how much I try, putting my schedule in my head is not working for me because I'm literally like, what am I supposed to be doing tomorrow? I don't remember or what have you. So it's come to me that I have to, make sure that I put everything, like I got to put it on paper or what have you. So, and me and my sister in Christ, we were talking about getting an assistant. We were talking about potentially hiring an assistant and basically sharing that assistant. She'll work for her and she'll work for me. We're in talks about that. But both of us got to come to the table and talk about what all we need, what I need, because her company is different from mine. That way, we can have somebody handling that kind of stuff because it's obvious to me that I've kind of bitten off more than I can chew. Okay. With that being said, I had to really hold myself accountable. Not only just to myself, the second part is I have to hold myself accountable to the people that I failed. I have to hold myself accountable. I can't sit there and say, well, you know, um, this is the excuse. So this is a little bit of revelation. I'm getting into it. I got a few notes for you guys. Trust me, it's going to be really good. But the first thing about accountability, because this is what I've discovered with most people, the majority of people that I know, do not know how to take accountability. And I talked about I am a proponent for healthy communication. That is my passion. That I love healthy communication. So part of healthy communication is accountability. Most people that I know, most people I've come in contact with, don't know how to hold themselves accountable, don't know how to take responsibility for their wrongs. So one of the things I've learned is that the first thing that you have to do, and these are not steps, but this is going to help you. The first thing that you have to do is you have to mull it over in your head, and you got to dust it off. What that means is, if you notice that, if I come to the comment section and if I say something, if I see somebody doing something wrong, in the comment section, if I say something to that person, if that person respects me and they know that they're wrong, the first thing, even though they respect me, the first thought is defense. Let me defend myself, right? That's the first thought. Defense. Let me make sure. No, that's not what. That's the first. Don't do that. Don't do that. The first thing that you have to do is you literally have to be quiet and mull it over within yourself. You have to be quiet. This is a healthy communication lesson, guys. It's going to be really good. I'm telling you, it's going to help a lot of you out. If I can take 1,000 people, and teach them healthy communication, I believe I can change the world. I don't need to have an audience of 300,000 people. I don't need to have an audience of a million people. If you give me 1,000 people who commit to healthy communication, I believe I can change the world, because those 1,000 people have access to 1,000 people. And once they start setting those standards in their lives, and people start seeing the benefits of that, because I've learned that most people didn't grow up in families where there was healthy communication. And if you've never seen it, then you don't know the benefits of it. You think that it's going to allow people to control you. You think it's going to make people have the ability to dominate you, and they're going to use that against you because maybe your mama did it, your daddy did it, your siblings did it. So one of the things I am passionate about is making sure that I teach healthy communication. Okay, so when it comes down to it, you have to dust off. That means that you have to deal with it within yourself. If you don't deal with it, like for example, if I offend somebody and that person comes to me right then and there, right there on the spot, and she tries to check me, my first reaction, my first response without thinking is defense. First thought, because the minute we see what we feel like is an attack, our first thought is defense, which is why it is not wise to check people unless you need to in a moment. It's not wise. So sometimes, for example, I have people in my life, right? And they may do something wrong. And I don't say nothing initially. I won't say anything. I go home, I mull it over, I think about it, I pray about it, and then I'll say, hey, I want to talk to you about this. And I've heard people say, well, why didn't you say something to me then? And I said, well, I wanted to think that over, because at the same time, if I said something to you then, I could have been wrong, or maybe I could have misconstrued something, I could have misunderstood something. It's not good for me to jump off the bat and just come straight at you. It's better for me, especially if that thing brought me into a negative emotion. I need to calm down, I need to sober up, and I need to take the time out to think about it. Facebook, let me know y'all in here. Let me know y'all in here. I see. Let me know. Hit the like button. Hit the love button. Or whatever. Give some hearts on here and let me know you guys are in here. It just looks a little bit dead, and I want you guys to engage. Hear me. I'm telling you, it's going to be good. But that's the first thing, is you want to dust off your excuse. The first thing you want to do is dust off your excuse. What do you say? What do you mean by that? That means that when you go to a person, if you value a relationship, this is not for relationships you don't value. This is for relationships that you value. When you go to a person, you never want to approach a person the wrong way. You never want to approach a person and say, hey, you did this and you did this and you did this, and you didn't dust it off. You didn't do this process. I talk about sorting. You didn't do your sorting. You didn't do your due diligence, because then you end up looking like a hypocrite, because something you didn't think of, they're going to bring it up to you. They're going to say, you do this and you did this. What's the difference? And so consequently, you'll find yourself inside of a fight. Am I right? So what you have to do is you have to do a process called sorting. Sorting is, and I feel like I'm jumping ahead of myself, but we're going to go ahead and finish this part, and then I'll get into what I want to say. Sorting is a process of, I created this technique. I would say my mom created it, if you may, when she started calling us to get our clothes. when I was a kid, my mom would go up in there, she'd wash clothes, she'd dry them, what have you. My mom would take the clothes up into her bedroom and she would sort them. And what she would do, she would fold my clothes, fold my brother's clothes. So, just be a big pile on the bed. Whatever she picked up, she folded and put it in the right stack. She folded and put it in the right stack. Then she would take, once she was done, she would call me, my brother, and my sister. She would call us. We hear her, I hear Tiffany, Tiffany. I hear my sister's name. I hear my brother's name. And then we would all make our way into my mom. Most of the time, I think I was the first one. I was always the one that jumped up first. I go up in there and my mom be like, here, go put your clothes up. So she would give me a stack of clothes, right? These belong to me. She sorted her clothes from our clothes. Her clothes, she would have her own stack. Matter of fact, by this time, she would have already put her clothes up and she would have put my dad's clothes up. She would put up her clothes and she would put up my clothes. My dad's clothes. But she'd have her clothes, my clothes out there, my sister's clothes, and my brother's clothes. Now, catch this. When she gave us the clothes, we still had to sort. When she gave us the clothes, she didn't give it to us in like 5 different stacks. Like she didn't stack my shirts here, my pants here, gowns and stuff like that here. She didn't stack it like that. She put it all in one stack. But what she would do was she would try to have, like, she'll have the pants and then you'll see shirts and what have you. My job when I went into my room was to go up in there and sort it all out. And then I was supposed to put away what I've sorted out. I would go in my room. I would take my gowns and all my sleep stuff or what have you, undergarments, and I put them in their proper place. I take my pants and put them in a proper place. There are some things that had to hang. I would take them and hang them up, put my shirts in their proper place, and then that was done, right? Everybody had responsibility. In any given relationship, write this out, guys. You need to write it down somewhere. In any given relationship, there is responsibility on both ends. Relationships cannot survive where one person takes responsibility and another person extracts the benefits. Why do you think the United States government is so destabilized? The system does no system works when one person takes a bulk of the responsibility while another person sits around and enjoys the benefits, right? If you're sitting there in a relationship and you're constantly giving, you're trying your best, and the other person is not putting forth any effort, then over the course of time, you're going to feel undervalued, unappreciated, and over the course of time, catch this, is going to create the one thing that destroys relationships. Can anybody tell me what that is? Can anybody tell me the one word that destroys relationships? I preached it on this channel before. The one thing that destroys relationships. And I'll be writing it out while y'all are kind of guessing. What is the one word, one thing that destroys relationships? Resentment, that's good. Familiarity, that's really good. Give me a second. Y'all close. Miscommunication, that's good. Selfishness, yep, that's good. Individualism destroys more relationships. Did you notice that I underlined this? You notice this word or this prefix? Where do you find this prefix? What other word do you find this word prefix in? This prefix DIVN. Y'all got it? Division, divide, divorce, divination. Sister April, you're beautiful. Thank you, sis. God bless you. Now, the Bible says, in the word, God says that a house divided, what? Cannot stand. Whenever you are building a relationship, I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, so don't just hear me there. Whenever you're building a relationship, one of the things that has to happen is unity. This is what the Bible means, especially when you start talking marriage. There's a word called cleave. You have to do this with your spouse. You can't cleave as an individual. You can't cleave as an individual. You can only cleave as a unit. That means that I trust you. That trust, because that's the most intimate part of my heart is trust. I trust you, and you're giving me facts, you're giving me truth, right? And you're being open. Cleave. You're gonna have an inability to cleave wherever there is individualism, because in individualism, what it does is it sets the stage for selfishness, which also sets the stage for um low self-esteem. It sets the stage for what is the word I'm looking for? Self-defense. So then you become defensive. I'm talking about this, like I said, I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I immediately think about friendships. When I'm talking about this, my mind goes to friendships. I'm going to say this. Some of the people that I have closed the door on in my life, right? Some of the people in my past that I've closed the door on, one of the biggest mistakes that they've ever made, and I'm not saying this, to get at them, because that's a closed door. Those are closed doors. One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen people make repeatedly is when they do something wrong, they don't come back and take accountability. Instead, what they do is they will take a break. Sister Sandra, oh God, thank you, sis. God bless you. God bless you. You're beautiful, sis. Thank you. But they will come and they'll take a break. And I've had friends, literally, I've had friends pull this down with me. And let me know if you've ever had a person to do this, right? But I've had friends to do this stuff with me. They'll do something disrespectful, right? We'll get into an argument or what have you, and then we'll pretty much end the friendship right there. We'll argue on the phone, and they be like, "Well, bye," and I'm like, "Bye." It is what it is, and we're done. They'll wait 6 months to a year, right? Or they'll wait a couple of years, and sometimes weeks or what have you, and then they'll come back, and it'll start off as a text message or a call. Hey, girl, what you been up to? Please let me know I'm not alone in this. What you been up to, girl? Or what have you? I'm a forgiving person. I forgive immediately, right? At the end of the day, forgiveness doesn't mean that I want to deal with the person. I'm gonna forgive, but that doesn't mean I want to deal with the person. What you up to, girl? What you doing tonight? And it starts off as text messages, and then they be like, "Hey, can I call you?" Or what have you? "Oh, I'm gonna call you tomorrow about 3, or I'm gonna call you tomorrow about 4." And then when we get on the phone, I'm not expecting anything, but you can't just jump back in like nothing ever happened. You can't do that. You can't do that. So I'm on the phone and I'm listening, and the conversation be going in a good direction, right? We're talking, laughing. So what you been up to, girl? Girl, nothing. I just been there. Oh, girl, me too. Oh, we girl. Last time since I seen you, this happened for real. Everything is going good. There's never that one moment where they say, I apologize. What I did, it was messed up. I'm sorry. I should have went out like that. I've had time to think. I've had time to process or what have you, and I was wrong. Never. When I tell you, you hear that from about 1% of the people in your life. You'll hear that from 1% of the people in your life. And I'm gonna tell you why people are afraid to take accountability in a minute. But instead, they keep talking. And let me tell you the most asinine thing you can say to me. I don't know about y'all. One of the most asinine things you can say to me, and I've had people to say this to me. They get like 30 minutes into the conversation where they feel like everything is good again. And they're like, girl, yeah, I was giving you your break. I was like, she probably still mad at me. Please tell me if so you can acknowledge that there was an offense, that something was done. And rather than saying, I'm wrong, you gaslight and say, she's still mad at me. Right. And here's my experience. I had an old friend. We were friends for a long, long, long time. I'm talking about decades. And she never would apologize. Never, ever, ever. She never would apologize. She never would come back and take responsibility. And it wasn't until I started getting older and I started, really surrendering my life to Christ that I started really caring about that kind of stuff. I started becoming one of those people because our communication it just seemed like we were fussing at each other all the time. It almost seemed like we couldn't really talk. Like we would have good conversations, but it almost seemed like we were fighting quite a bit, right? And whenever there's a relationship where two people are fighting, that's an issue where you're dealing with somebody who has an issue with control. You couldn't even tell me I'm wrong. You're dealing with somebody who has an issue with control, and they're a little bit frustrated that your head ain't going as under as they pulling your head down, and you kind of popping back up. That's usually an issue with control. But I remember having this friend. She was amazing in so many ways. I never want to discount what a person brought to my life based on other stuff. Right? Um, I had my issue, she had hers, but one of hers was she would do stuff that was wrong. Like she had an issue with control, and she would never take accountability for it. And I remember one particular time, I won't even talk about the incident, but I remember this one particular time that I can't say the incident. This one particular time I had just gotten married, and trying to see how to tell their story. I had gotten married, and she had met him for the first time. We come back to the States. We were at my mom's house. We've been staying at my mom's house for a minute. And she comes over to my mom's house, and first and foremost, she wasn't happy about me getting married. She wasn't happy that I had just got remarried for the most part, but she wasn't happy about it or what have you. I figured she was trying to look out for me in her own little way. So I did. I just kind of shrugged it off. I figured that's how she is. But I remember she comes over there, and she was talking to my ex. They was standing there, and I'm feeling good because, and I've told this story before, I'm sure. I'm feeling good because they talking to each other. They talking, and they seem to be getting along. When you care about people, you're always happy to see them getting along, right? So they're having a conversation. They seem to be getting along, and she mentioned that she had a relative that was a homosexual. That was the story. She mentioned that one of her relatives was a homosexual. And my ex, he was like, oh, okay. So she said, yeah, I'm going to bring my photo album back over. Brother William, you're awesome. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. She said, I'm going to bring my photo album over so you can see my family. He said, okay. So she left. She comes back. She comes in with the photo album. So she sits in front of him with the photo album. And, I'm kind of just leaving the room, moving around or what have you. I'm moving, doing other stuff. And she's showing him the photo album, and they're going through pictures. Now, mind you, this guy's from Cameroon, right? So he had a strong accent. He's going, and he sees the relative, and he sees a picture of the relative. He said, is this the one who is a homosexual? Is this the one? And she was like, yeah. And he said, okay. And she just kept, but then there was a shift in her energy. Now, y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. That was a shift in her energy. I felt the energy go out of the room or what have you, but I didn't think nothing of it. She left. She calls back about an hour later. I answer the phone, and she asked to speak to my ex. And we're going to call my ex Roger. She said, Tiffany, let me speak to Roger because I'm about to go off. I said, you about to go off on who? Now, let me just give you a little bit of culture because I don't know if y'all understand this, but if I'm married, you don't have the right to go off on my husband. So if you my friend, you don't have that privilege. You have to come to me. Now I can talk to you. We all different, okay? We all different, but you just don't. That ain't how that work. I'm sorry. Maybe that I don't know y'all culture, but for me, the way we were raised, if that was a problem between y'all, especially as a female, you don't have the right to step to him. You just don't. So I'm on the phone. She was like, let me talk to Roger because I'm about to go off. I said, you about to go off on who? She was like, girl, I'm about to go off on Roger because he gonna ask me if that's my relative that's a homosexual. I said, girl, didn't you tell him you had a relative that was in a same-sex lifestyle? Did you not tell him that? He didn't say anything disrespectful. He didn't curse. He didn't laugh. He didn't make fun. He just asked. He simply asked a question. And I sat back and I started going, I said, I don't know who you think this is. So we ended up on the phone. We argued and I hung up the phone. I didn't hear from her for a while. And then she popped back up, right? She popped back up. We've been friends for well over a decade at that point. She popped back up and we just start talking like nothing ever happened. And she makes a comment one day. She makes a comment like the day we start back talking and what have you. She starts saying, yeah. I was telling somebody like Tiffany mad at me. I just got to give her a little time to calm down. And I stood there like, wait, what? So, like I said, for me, it's one of those things where you have to make that make sense to me. You have like I there are some people on here that don't agree. I get it. There are some people on here you don't know what to say because you like, girl, go off. No, no, no. If I'm married and you connected to me, you can't go off on him. That ain't that's genuinely you can't. So I sat up there and I was like, wait, but I had to when I really think back now, I'm not saying that she was a bad person. This girl helped me out in so many ways, but what I will say was that she never changed, which is what ultimately ended our friendship. She never changed because she never she never found the ability or never knew how to take accountability for what she done wrong. She never learned how to sit back and say, when I thought about that, Tiffany, I was wrong. I should not have felt like I can challenge you like that. Because basically, what I'm doing is trying to see who's more important to you, me or him. in, in that, you're trying to see who's more important. You got your place. But if when it comes down to marriage, husband trumps friend. Sorry. Your husband is not equal to your friend. Tell that to these dudes. They be making their friends. Not no man of mine. You think I would want to be married to somebody who exalts his friends over me? You can settle for that? Accountability. One of the things I got a chance to see, and don't worry, I got some notes for you guys. One of the things I got a chance to see, and just looking over this thing called accountability, is that a lot of the relationships that you will see destroyed, marriages, friendships, a lot of the things that you see that don't survive has everything to do with there being one person who's doing all the work and another person who's enjoying the benefits. You have one person that's doing all the work, and you have another person who's enjoying the benefits and they may put a little bit of work in. That will burn you out. That will burn you out. It will burn you out. Sister Nicole, thank you so much. I got your seed today. I love you, sis. I love you. That will burn you out because you get to the point where it's going to create that individualism. Well, you looking out for yourself, I got to look out for myself. A house divided cannot stand. That doesn't mean just people that live in a house with you. That includes your friends, that includes your family members, it includes your bosses, it includes your church. It doesn't matter. If you divide the house, it won't survive. Why am I talking about this? Because I want you guys to learn to take accountability, because some of you have lost covenant relationships because you didn't know how to take accountability, or you didn't dust off your accountability before you went. And let me tell you just a little message, a little thing that I had. Let me tell you this before I get into the notes. Something that I do to myself. I have a list. So I have my issues. We all have ours. And I put a list of stuff that I'm supposed to do every week, all the way up to the cruise that we got coming up for Vision, right? So I gave myself this starting April 10th. I gave myself this list of things. I'm not going to hold this up, but one of it includes drinking a big bottle of water every day, making sure I take my vitamins. I gave myself limitations as it relates to restaurants, especially McDonald's or what have you. I put myself on this. Now, I'm showing this to you because I'm teaching you how to break habits in your life. I'm teaching you how to take accountability. I'm teaching you in this. If I fail to do anything on this list, this gonna help somebody. I have to give myself a $75 penalty. You know what I found out? I think I got four $75 penalties. This is just a note feature. The note app is just a note app. I just use the note app and I gave myself this check thing or what have you, but it's just a note app. It's on the app, it's on the iPhones, and then there's a note app on the Androids as well. But I gave myself every last one of these things, big bottle of water every day. Bonus cheat for every 16 ounces of water after that. 3 days out of the week, Daniel fast until 6 p.m. 2 days out of the week, Daniel fast until 6, but you can have, queso and chips. 2 dark sodas a week, nothing more than that. 100 repetitions of any exercise or walk for 30 minutes. Standard vitamins, including apple cider, magnesium, turmeric, intensive Bible study at minimum 3 days a week. Be sure to go to a doctor before the fasting ends. That's what my challenge is going to get right there. Sundays off except for water and vitamins. No McDonald's except on Sundays. Must cook at least once a week. Must eat something green 3 days a week. One full grace day if needed. $25 penalty. Oh, $25 penalty for mess ups. Well, we bless the name of the Lord because I told myself it was 75, but I'm gonna have to take the price up for the penalties. I literally got like 4 penalties on me already. 4 penalties. And the mistake I made today, it is not on this list, but I literally put a penalty in my head. I'm going to penalize myself for that. I'm going to penalize myself for that because boundaries start within before they start without. That means self-control. Boundaries start within before they start without, right? So that means that I have to sit back. Like I tell people, you can't raise your voice at me, you can't curse at me. That means I can't raise my voice at people and I can't curse at them. Right. So I tell people that these are my boundaries. These are the boundaries I've set up for my life. These are the things I've set up or what have you. I enforce the boundaries in my life. Believe it or not, I enforce the boundaries in my life. Oh yeah, and you know that's the thing. I had to make sure I put a list because if I don't put a list, I forget stuff. And I'm learning that I literally have to write stuff down. And I learned too, because I'm strong-willed, I have to put penalties on myself. I have to put penalties on myself. So as it relates to other areas of my life, I realized that I'm going to have to do a list for those. I'm going to have to do a list and I'm going to have to give myself some healthy penalties. I have to give myself penalties that hurt. I have to give myself penalties that hurt. So I'm going to give you some of the benefits of accountability. I wrote down 5 lists, but I might as well just turn them into 10. I'm going to give you 10 benefits of accountability. 10 benefits of accountability because I'm telling you, there are benefits to it. There are a lot of people, when I tell you, a lot of people disregard messages like this because we ain't talking about men and we ain't talking about clapping it up and all that other stuff. But hear me when I tell you, this will help you in your marriage. This will help you in your friendships. It'll help you to build some good relationships. There's nothing more beautiful than a relationship that's stable. There's nothing more beautiful than a relationship that's stable. If I start talking, if I'm trying to build a friendship with somebody and I see it's toxic, let me say this before I get into it. If I'm trying to build a friendship with somebody and immediately we start off as toxic, and I've drawn this out before I see the drawing, but I'm going to do it again. This is what happens. Every relationship has a destination. There is a beginning and there is an end or a destination. Let's just write it. All right. There's a beginning and there's an end. Every relationship has that, the beginning and the end. When I start building something with somebody, because in my single life, and I'm not just talking about outside of a romantic relationship, but I'm talking about even in the time where I probably didn't have people walking close or didn't have that many people walking close, I've been moving. Now, your standard walk, your standard journey looks like this. As you grow in your relationship with Christ, I think I have to do it better. I wish I had a marker over here. But your standard walk is going to look like this when you first start off. So you know what this is? What this is, your beginning, you stop, and then you're going in circles. When you see those spots here, this delay. This is delay. This is an inward fight. This is a character issue. This is a problem. You can't move forward until you deal with that issue. You getting it? You can't move forward until you deal with that issue. Do me a favor. Be sure to like and share because this is going to bless somebody. But you can't move forward until you deal with this issue. Then you start walking and you think you got it together, right? Your chest puff up, you got your head in the air. Then you come into another character issue of your own. Because the thing about relationships with people is that they reveal your character. Y'all didn't know that, did you? Your relationships with people reveal your character. When I was in my cave alone, I was the greatest thing smoking. Okay. I was better than smoked bacon. When I was in my cave alone, I was all of that stuff. Everything I thought that a person should be, I thought I was the best friend, the best wife, the best anything anybody could ever get. When I went outside and I started building relationships, When I got a church home and all that, I realized I had some issues. I had some stuff that I had to work out because when I was alone, you couldn't tell me there was something wrong with me because there was nobody to test it. There was nobody to challenge it. No, there was nobody to get tangled up in my perspective. It wasn't until I went outside and started dealing with people when I started letting people in my life. Because initially, when it was just me, I could toss them. I could just toss them away. They get on my nerve, I could just toss them away. Because at the end of the day, I don't feel like dealing with this. I don't feel like the headache. I'm in my house. I'm good. I got peace. I can sit up there and work all day long, and I ain't got nobody bothering me, nobody buzzing in my head. When I was living in Florida, I can get up, go take me a cruise, go do something. You know, they had them hour and a half cruise, dinner cruises and stuff. I can get up and go do that. I can go to the beach. I can take my camera to the beach. I can do Photoshop. It's just a lot of stuff that I can do. I got too much stuff that I can do rather than deal with somebody's issues. But when I got up and I got out and I started getting around people, I started seeing that one, I was too tangled up in my own beliefs and my own perspective, which means that I had no give relationally, which would have made it hard to be in any type of a relationship with me. Now, when it came down to friends, I think I was pretty decent, but I didn't have that many friends as well. But this is what your walk looks like. You should not, somebody say it with your chest. You should not get in any type of intimate relationship when you're still fighting with you. Friendship, you can have people around you. You should have accountability, but you got to be careful because every time you go into one of these spells, somebody got to get tangled up in that crap with you. And once you get to a space, now, as you mature, this is going to get smaller and smaller. It's going to be far apart. Sister Octavia, I love you. Thank you, sis. God bless you. So notice on this particular spectrum, I've worked on me. I'm moving in a straight line, and then I may have an issue here. I get caught up in that issue, and I probably got PMS or whatever. But then I move on from that, okay? And then I sit back and I move, and I get caught up. You see, there's fewer and far. In that, I'm safe to be in a relationship because you're never going to be perfect. Your line will never genuinely look like this here. There's going to be this. When you, okay, I want you to imagine. I got a friend, and I want you to imagine this is me and my issues. Every other month, or every month is some, or every week is some. I got a friend, and this is hers. What do you think? Do you think we'll ever reach the destination? Do you ever think we'll get over here? No, because we'll never be able to be, or we'll never be able to achieve much because we're having to buzz around a bunch of issues. Because that's what it looks like. When I see that, it looks like insects buzzing, going in a circle. It's supposed to be flying straight, like you going in circles, right? So now we can't move because now I gotta check her because she thought she could check the man I'm married to. So now we here. Now we fighting here. And then now when we move on from there, we can't really move on because we never moved on because she never took accountability. She never took responsibility, which signals that she's gonna do it again and again and again and again. Anytime you refuse to take accountability or responsibility for your wrong, you're going to do it again. Oh, somebody tell me I'm alive, please. If you don't have it in your heart, you can tell you now. Wait, you can gaslight yourself. You can lie to yourself. You can tell yourself, Tiffany, I ain't gonna lie. I cheated on that woman. I hurt her. But it's hard for me to tell her I'm sorry. And at the same time, she kind of provoked me, she was just it. So you're not taking full responsibility. You're gonna cheat again. In that moment, you just don't, you're afraid that you're about to lose her. You're not regretful that you cheated. You're scared that you're about to lose her. The two are not one and the same. But until you deal with your self-control, until you deal with your issues within and without, you're going to do it again. This is why I don't entertain people who have trouble apologizing Or if they apologize, there's always got to be, well, you made me mad. I ain't gonna lie. Now, granted, you can sit back and say, hey, I was hurt, I was upset, I really wanted to hurt you, I was doing that. That's fine. But if you try to give somebody else responsibility in your decision to do a wrong thing, you need help. Your line, when you build a relationship, when you get grown up in this thing, like my sisters in Christ, what have, I'm very mindful. This is why I don't deal with jealous hearted people. This is why I don't deal with folks, because I'm very mindful of who I walk close with. I'm very mindful because I got my mind on this straight path, that I got a destination in mind. Destination ain't, it's not money. My destination is not fame. Matter of fact, I ain't trying to be famous. My destination is just so I can hear God say, well done, good and faithful servant. My destination is just to do everything to empty myself out so God can say, well done. And that's the benefit of serving him and being trusted by him, is that he does enrich you. He does give you favor. He gives you beautiful things, right? When he sees that he can trust you. But my end game is not for me to be in some big old house wearing uh wearing the best lace front there is, and they found a new kind of staple gun to staple the thing in my head. That's not my end game. My end game is not to sit up there and be on television and be like, Chauncey, that is nasty. We don't do that around here. Okay. You're filthy. No, it's not for me to change my accent and to find me a friend named Chauncey. And that's not my end game. My end game is just to empty myself out. And I am intrigued with what God put in me. So every time God empties me out, I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that was in me. That's wow. That's amazing. And so what it does is it makes me say, okay, what else is in there? It makes, the more you serve God, not just in I'll do, but I'll be. Because serving God is not just about what you do, it's about what you're willing to be. The more you're willing to be, the more God shows you what's in you. See, some of you don't even know, you don't even know a tenth of what's in you. You don't even know a percent of what's in you, because you've been called stupid your whole life. You are surrounded by people who expect you to do the worst. You're surrounded by people who expect you to fail. You're surrounded by people who expect you to make the wrong decisions, to destroy everything that you put your hands on. You're around people who are just sitting back and they're just like, oh, yep, she got herself another man. Here goes. She gonna mess this one up too. I give her what? Yeah, give her about 3 months. And when you're surrounded by people like that, you will typically fail. When you're surrounded by people that expect you to fail, you will typically fail, because you're surrounded by people that are speaking these curses into your life diligently or what have you. And there's usually no motivation for you. There is no motivation. And some people can say, well, Tiffany, I like being surrounded by people like that because they motivate me. Yeah, that could be your thing. But for the most part, the average person will not want to necessarily be motivated by it. I think about family members of mine that left the state of Mississippi and they started flourishing. Most of my family members that left the state of Mississippi started flourishing. You know why? Because they were no longer living under that stronghold, the principles and the expectations of the people there. They were no longer, they were free to go out and start over. All right, let's talk 10 benefits of accountability. 10 benefits of accountability. Somebody write in the chat, I want to be accountable. I want to be accountable. I want this to be your day because, like I said, I'm going to do a class on healthy communication. I'm going to do a 4-week class within my school, Vision, with my students. I'm going to do a 4-week class. So get in there. I'm going to do a 4-week class on healthy communication. When I tell you that's a passion of mine, because I want everybody around me to lose the fear of confrontation. I want people around me to lose the fear, or the fear of just being honest and saying, yeah, I did that and I was wrong. And then dealing with that fear that, oh my God, now I just gave the person a gun. I just gave the rabbit a gun. What they gonna do with it? And you gotta let them have the gun, and you gotta let them do whatever what they see is necessary. You gotta lose the fear of trying to control your relationships and trying to control people. All right. The first benefit of accountability, number one, it builds trust. It builds trust. When people are accountable, it makes you trust them, because at the end of the day, when they do something wrong and they check themselves and they come back and say, I messed up. I'm not gonna lie. I've had students of mine who've done that. I've had students of mine that say, hey, I want to be honest with you. I messed up. I fell in a trip. I got mad at you. I talked about you. What have you? And I'm like, oh, it is what it is. I forgive you. And it's done just like that. They will tell you I don't hold it over their head. I don't punish them. I don't treat them any different because I appreciate that. We're humans. We're human beings. As human beings, we gonna mess up. But what makes me appreciate that about them is that they cared enough to want to stick around, and they cared enough to say, I don't want this looming over my head because this is going to divide me from my mentor, and I don't want that. I love accountability. I love it. I got mad. I ain't come to class like 3 weeks because I was mad at you, and I'm sorry. That's beautiful. Because literally, anytime you take accountability, what you're telling the person is, I care about our relationship. When you don't take accountability, you're saying, I don't give three rat's feathers about this relationship. It is what it is. I choose my pride over you. Isn't that what you're saying? When you choose yourself rather than being accountable, you're saying, I care more about my pride than I care about you. Most people get divorced because they're in a three-way relationship between themselves and Leviathan. And Leviathan destroys more marriages, destroys more friendships than anything, because most people will choose their demons over their person. You have people that will literally sit up in divorce court, signing papers and still. And you know what checks me? You ever seen old people? My mom worked as a CNA. My mom just had this passion for older people. That stuff get caught up in your soul. Like your spirit becomes stubborn. They get so old that you know what they say about them? They're stuck in their ways. I never want to be that older person that my heart is now on display because I'm weak. And so now because I'm too weak, I'm just sitting there. Just nasty. They put you in a nursing home. Oh, you're just nasty. Mm-hmm. You would have cheated on your wife and everything. How many times you been married? Be like, man, how you been? Don't worry about me. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be that person. When I get old, I want to be that sweet, wise old lady. That's my goal. When I'm old, I want to be the sweet, wise old lady that you can come to and I said, baby, you good. God loves you, okay? You're beautiful. Don't worry about that. I forgive you. That's okay. Come out of her in the name of Jesus. I don't want to be that stubborn, but it builds trust. No relationship, platonic, romantic, familial, professional, or ministerial can survive outside of trust. No relationship can survive without trust. It just can't. And you cannot have trust if you don't have accountability. It's the most asinine thing to have a person say, trust me, but they can't be accountable. Oh, I can trust you to do wrong because you are defending yourself and you're an individual. When we're supposed to be a unit, you're supposed to be my friend. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be that. I can trust that you're going to look out for you, which makes me want to look out for me. It builds trust. People trust you when they know that you're willing and ready to come back and say, hey, I raised my voice and I shouldn't have done that. Or I listened to people and I had somebody in my ear and I shouldn't have, they were in my ear talking all this crazy stuff and I shouldn't have listened to that. I allowed myself to get offended and I apologize. And don't add nothing to it. Meaning don't sit back because you know the stuff that you was doing. I ain't gonna lie, you were making me mad too. Because in that you're not taking accountability. You're literally you're bringing accusation. Like anytime you take accountability, leave accusation at the door. Anytime you take accountability, leave accusation at the door. Because the minute you bring accusation in, accountability goes out the window. The minute you bring accusation in, accountability goes out the window. Number two, it builds character. It builds character. The thing about it is, when you're dealing with accountability, accountability is not easy to take, especially in situations where even though you know you're wrong, you're maybe reacting to either something some person the other person did, the person said, or something you perceive. Because most reactions are not present day; they're past tense. Meaning, sometimes when you have unforgiveness or unresolved trauma, sometimes you're responding to the dude behind you, but he gone. But you're talking to the dude in front of you because you never finished the conversation with the dude behind you. Unforgiveness keeps the door open between you and the dude behind you, or you and the girl behind you. You still talking to her, but I'm sitting here like, what does that got to do with me? Because y'all women, yeah, wait, hold up. Y'all women, when the minute you say that, wait, my name's Tiffany. What if you caught up in generalization, that tells me that you got unforgiveness. Oh, somebody getting corrected. If you dealing with generalization, that tells me that you never forgave and you don't take accountability very well. It builds character. It helps you to become the person that you want to become. If you ever want to become that person, and hear me, my apostle says, Apostle Brian Meadows said that whenever you're doing, and I'm trying to remember how he said, but he talked about how you can feel your pride burning up. That is the truth. Me taking accountability in a lot of cases, especially if another person has wronged me, and God is like, don't worry about what they did. You got to apologize. You literally feel your pride, and it is not a good feeling. It is not a good feeling to stand there and talk to somebody who has not taken accountability, and you having to take accountability because the Lord checking you. Hey, I wanted to apologize for calling you a burnt goat. I should not have said that. I got upset. There's no excuse for my behavior or what have you. But they standing there and they called you a tampon eating chimp, and they just like, okay, all right, I accept your apology. I want to stab you in your eyeball. I ain't gonna lie to you, cause you got me. I'm apologizing. You don't have the audacity. You were the first one. You threw the first shot. He's a river rat, right? I saw this one, but you called me out of my name first. You called me out of my name first, and I retaliated. It wasn't right, and because I have Holy Spirit and I got to do what's right, I got to come over here to apologize. And you have to listen. You have to feel that in that moment, and your pride will catch on fire. And in that moment, you want to say, "Wait, hold up, wait, stay. No, I take it back. How you gonna sit here and make a comment about me and say all that stupid stuff about me, and now I'm apologizing to you, and you didn't apologize for calling me a tampon eating chimp. You didn't apologize, and so now I'm sitting here, and you just sitting there going, But you literally, I'm gonna tell you, your relationship with God, you literally have to sit there and deal with that. And they said, I accept your apology. I know you were just upset. We all make mistakes, but anyhow, girl, I'm gonna call you later. In my head, I'm like, no, you ain't. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. But it builds character. Number three, it stabilizes your relationships. How many of you have spent quite a bit of time complaining about not having those stable relationships that you want? Everybody wants relationships where you can pretty much just take off your bra and let it hang loose. You just want to be free, right? Everybody wants to have a relationship where you can be flawed, you can be imperfect, and the people in your life, they love you enough to cover your flaws. They love you enough to look away. They love you enough to not get disrespectful. We all want that, right? We all want to have that person in our lives that we can, if we ate a pound of ice cream and we know we lactose intolerant, we can sit there and let loose. Okay. We all want to have that person in our lives. We don't want to be sitting up there on the couch trying to grip our legs together and and he's sitting up there watching TV and he's like, you okay? Mm-hmm. You good? Mm. I'm gonna go to the bathroom right away. It's like the fourth time. Why are you whispering? I'll be right back. No, we all want to have that. You can't have that if you're not willing to be accountable. You can't have that if you're not willing to be accountable. It stabilizes your relationships. It's going to destabilize some relationships, but it stabilizes your relationships. And when I say destabilize, it's going to destabilize relationships that are not of God. Or it's going to destabilize relationships whereas you put the wrong label on the relationship. It is possible. Most people put wrong labels on relationships. Most offense has everything to do with you putting the wrong label on the relationship. You call her your best friend, but she was never called to be your best friend because she doesn't have that level of maturity or that level of discipline that you have. She was only called to be your sister in Christ, your baby sister in Christ, and that's it, and that's all. Now you were supposed to talk to her every once in a blue moon. You're supposed to encourage her and just be a light or what have you. That's all you were supposed to do. But you called her your bestie. You let her call you her bestie. You let her love bomb you. So now y'all walking close together. And now she's jealous and she don't know what to do. And she's always, slowing you down. And so now y'all can't move forward because y'all always buzzing around a bunch of issues. She's always kicking up drama. But it stabilizes your relationships. It stabilizes your relationships because it builds trust. And people realize that, hey, if she says she's going to the store, that's where she's going. Think about this in a marriage. If you have a stable relationship, like you completely and wholeheartedly honest with your spouse, right? And somebody come back and tell your spouse, hey, your girl a thought. I saw her on the corner of Crenshaw and Third talking to some dude that looked like he had some stuff going on. I'm gonna be honest with you. He kept like he was scratching down there, right? It looked like he got crabs or something because he just couldn't stand still. But she was standing there talking to him, and I know the dude was a smooth talker, but I'm just like, girl, look down at his hands, but she didn't look down or what have you. And I saw them exchanging phone numbers, so it's clear that he's not a friend of hers or what have you. Then it was the way that she was looking at him, the way he was looking at her. So I'm just letting you know, I like to keep stuff to myself. I try to stay out of people's business and stuff. I wasn't gonna say anything, but the only reason I'm saying something to you right now is because dude was scratching. When she walked off and he didn't think nobody was looking, he turned around. He was over there by that stop sign. He put his hand in his pants and bro went to town. So I'm just telling you that because I respect you as a man and I don't want you to end up with crabs or whatever it is that this dude's dealing with. Whatever it is that he dealing with, I don't want you to end up with it. If you have trust with your spouse, you can say that ain't true. That ain't true. That's not her character. That's not her character. There's nothing better than having people in your life that can say that's not her character. Just kind of a side note, I was thinking immediately makes me think of this guy, this pastor. He didn't even know me, but he did something that I'll never forget. I was ministering to this couple, and literally I had done nothing wrong. One of the reasons I don't like ministering to couples, I will point couples in a different direction. I'll do 1-2 sessions or what have you, but yeah. I was ministering to this couple. The husband he needed deliverance, a major deliverance, right? And he was abusive to his wife. Long story short, he developed an attitude. First, he loved me, but then he developed an attitude because his wife left him a couple of times, and she left him because he was putting his hands on her. And I had fussed at him plenty of times. And I'm like, no, she should leave you. She should leave you. At the end of the day, I'm not going to tell her. I would never tell somebody to go back into a volatile situation. That's not my thing. If you being beat on, I'm not going to say, girl, go home. He said he ain't going to do it. No, 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 no. So he felt like he had built up enough rapport with me that when she left, which I didn't tell her to do, by the way, I just found out. She just reached out to me and said, hey, I left him. What have you? And I just said, okay, why? What happened? And she told me, hey, he had another episode. He jumped on me again last night. Oh, what have you? And I'm like, hey, where you staying at? And she told me, I was like, okay, be safe, be prayerful, this, that, and the other. He decides to reach out to me and he's like, hey, could you tell her to come home? I got mad. I did this and I did that, but she was pushing my buttons. She did this. And I was like, I'm not telling her to come home. I can only tell you about your issue. I said, get therapy, get deliverance. That's it. You got to demonstrate. So long story short, he decided he doesn't like me beyond that point because I won't tell her to come home. This happened on a couple of occasions where she left. And then, he came around and he was like, can you tell her to come home? And I'm like, no. He's like, she listened to you. I don't care. At the end of the day, I'm never going to be on one person's side over the other. I'm going to be on the side of right. You are wrong. And I'm not going to send her back into that situation. I'm not going to use my relationship with her to send her back into that situation where you clearly need help. And you've been told, you've gone through deliverance and all that, and you still keep doing the same crap. I'm not going to be the one to send her to her death. I'm just not. So, and then it was something that happened because at this particular time I didn't have a church home, and I had introduced them to this lady who was a pastor, and they had their own church, what have you. So they had a issue with her. So basically, she kind of put them out of her church because of the issue. Well, put him out because after they separated, the girl was kind of scared for her life or what have you. So she was like, "Hey, he can't come back or what have you." Boy, the girl. Anyhow, I don't want to go into that. But long story short, I didn't have a church home at the time. I decided to just kind of visit. I came across this one church. I started visiting the church. Right, I would just go up in there every Sunday, or yeah, it was every Sunday, and then sometimes every other Sunday I would go to church or what have you. And I come across a couple one time, and I invited them to church. I invite, I was like, hey, and I talked to the wife, and I was like, yeah, y'all come to church or what have you, because I'm trying to get them. My thing is this: I don't have to deal with you for me to want you to want Christ, right? I want you to want Christ, but that doesn't mean I have to deal with you. So I'm just like, yeah, it's a good church, it's an amazing church. I want y'all to still go to church or what have you. God is there. It's amazing. I think you guys will love it or what have you. So they come to the church. They come to the church. When they get in there, they didn't sit with me because they came late. I look over, I saw them when they came in. They sat up on the other side. Everything's good. When church is over, the wife comes over. She's talking to me, and we just talking. I'm like, "How you doing? You look pretty," and we just talking. And I see the husband get up. Right, church is clearing out. And he goes up to the pastor. I watch him walk over to the pastor. So he starts talking to the pastor because the pastor had prophesied to them. He walks up to the pastor and he's talking to the pastor. I don't think nothing of it. I'm just talking to the wife. Next thing I know, I hear the pastor say, well, since you bring it up her name, let me call her over here. And he said, Miss Tiffany. And he called me up and I came over there and he said, tell her what you told me. And the husband started stuttering. He was yeah, basically he was trying to make it look like like I was trying to cause issues or what have you. And I sat there and I cleared it, and he couldn't say anything. He was like, "Yeah, that's right." I said, "Have I ever?" And I asked, "Why? Have I ever told you to leave your husband? Ever? No. Have I ever spoke negatively about your husband to you? No. All that. I'm saying that to say that right there. In that moment, he held him accountable. In that moment, and I've always respected that moment because in that moment, he could have allowed that man to come up there, and the guy coming in looking at me in my face, smiling, but the whole time he just felt like I like this church, but I don't want her here. Somebody that was trying to help him. That's the crazy thing for me. I like this church, but I don't want her here because if I beat up my wife, she never gonna tell my wife to come home. It is what it is. But it stabilizes your relationships. I'm saying that to say, and the pastor told me, he said, yeah, I don't do that kind of stuff. If somebody comes to me and says, this, that, he said, I don't play those type of games. The times I've seen you, he said, I can tell you're a stand-up woman, you're a good person, I already know your character, what have you. That's what happens. It's a beautiful thing. Even though he didn't know me that well, he, had a clear picture of my character. It's a beautiful thing when people can see you and say, that's not her character. Because the person that this dude was trying to advertise me as was not my character. And that's when I got up there, he was like, yeah, I said, did I have I? No, ma'am. Okay, so what's the issue? That's not your character, but it stabilizes your relationships. Number 4, it increases commitment. It increases commitment. This is 10 benefits of accountability. 10 benefits of accountability. It increases commitment. People will commit to you more when they can trust you more. Am I right or am I wrong? People will commit to you more when they can trust you more. Most people don't have a lot of people that they can trust, genuinely, intimately trust. People have people they can trust from on an intellectual level, more on an associate level. Whenever you have people that you can trust in your life, those people are valuable. And many cases, they will become invaluable. They will become invaluable. It increases commitment. It makes people like, if I know that I can trust you, it makes me want to give more to you. If I know that I can trust you, it makes me want to give more to you. Immediately, my brain is going to something I was thinking about because I feel like this is going in a direction I don't want to go. I didn't plan it to go in, but I'm going to let the Lord have his way. But initially, I'm thinking about some of the people in the Bible. Well, let me just write that down. No, I'll deal with that now. Some of the people in the Bible, David made more mistakes than Saul. David did more detrimental things than Saul did. The difference between David and Saul is that David repented. One thing I noticed in the Bible, if you start studying the patterns of God, Ahab's problem was Ahab would repent slowly. He would repent, but he would return to his sin. And then he would stiffen his heart. The Bible talks about a woman in Proverbs, says she wipes her mouth and says, I have done no wrong. You know what I've noticed? Cain, for example, God told him, he said, if you do right, will I not bless you? Will I not receive you, right? I've noticed the patterns of God is that it's not the wrong that we do that get us in trouble. What gets us in trouble is the fact that we don't take accountability for our wrongs. What do you think happened to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden? Neither one of them took accountability for their role. Neither one of them. Here it is. God confronts Adam. Adam said, "That woman you gave me." Now he's not even just blaming Eve. He's saying, "You gave her to me. Your fault too, God, because you gave her to me. That woman you gave me. She gave me that fruit." You know, the Bible never said it was an apple. Let's get delivered from that. We don't know what tree it was. If it was an apple, we all in trouble. But you gave that, you gave her. And then when God confronted Eve, Eve was like, the serpent beguiled me. When God confronted the serpent, he couldn't blame nobody. You'll notice that throughout the Bible, the pattern of God is that, okay, you can go to the book of Revelation. When God talks about Jezebel, he said, I gave her space to repent, but she would not. Therefore, and then he started pronouncing judgment. When you have trouble being accountable and taking responsibility for your role in your own pain, your role in your own situation, your role in whatever it is you've done wrong, is genuinely and literally because you have trouble repenting to God. You have trouble. And one thing that you cannot do when you go before God is say, I know I slept with him, but God, he was looking good. You should have seen he had oil on his chest and everything. He was all oily. You expect me to resist that? Why you be creating him like that? Look what you did. You created him like that. And then you gonna create, and then you know the stuff I went through when I was a kid. You know all the stuff, the trauma, all the stuff I went through. All of that is smoke and mirrors. You are literally not taking accountability. You're pointing at everybody around you and saying, it's everybody's fault that I'm crazy. It's everybody's fault that I'm making the decisions that I make. At some point, you got to stop doing it. At some point, you got to say, I did it because I like it. Now, why I like it, it could have been from my childhood trauma. I don't know. But I did it because I wanted to. As a man, you got to be able to say, hey, I did it because I didn't cast down imaginations. She walked in, right? She walked past me. I was at work. She walked past me. The girl had a badunkadunk. Ain't gonna lie, I looked. That was my mistake. I looked at a badunkadunk, and every time I saw that girl, I waited for her to go by. I looked, and then she started giving me eye contact, and I started fantasizing about her. I started developing lustful feelings in my heart about her, and before long, she started talking to me. I started talking to her, and we exchanged phone numbers. And I ain't gonna lie, I intentionally, aggressively, and systematically went after the booty, and I got the booty. But baby, please don't leave me. Because there's layers and layers and layers and layers to what got you in that place. And every last one of those layers have to be backtracked or they have to be dealt with. So, how do I deal with this? Because this is premeditated. This is premeditated. How do we deal with that? I messed up. Not, baby, she manipulated me. She was wearing them tight pants to work, baby. I ain't gonna lie. I was trying not to look, but you know what, baby? My eye, that cock eye, it kept going over that corner. I'm like, no. And it kept going over there, baby. Next thing you know, nobody can trust you beyond your accountability. All right, let's get back into this. But it increases your commitment. It increases. I don't know if we got there yet. It increases your commitment. Number 5, it allows you to move forward instead of buzzing around a bunch of silly mess or silly issues. It allows you to move forward. I don't want relationships that we are always buzzing around stuff. Well, I was talking about on the last one. I said, when I was sitting there, I was talking to that guy for like that time, and it was just issues. And I felt like we just fussing. I'm like, I don't want that because we already coming into this, and it's just like you can't move forward. Like this would be a distraction for me. Like I'm building in my single life. I'm building. I'm creating, and if I entertain him, I'm not going to be able to build or create because we're going to always be dealing with something, some type of issue. And I don't know about y'all. I don't. When you start doing stuff for the kingdom, when you start building, you literally start valuing your time. I need the builders to say amen. When people who start building stuff that's valuable, like somebody that's gone to school for a long time to build something, somebody that's put effort, time, blood, sweat, tears, and resources into a thing, when you start building a thing, it makes you value your time more. This is why I had one of the unpardonable sins for me. I gotta forgive you, is wasting my time. I can't stand it. I hate it. I talked about this on the last one. I don't like my time to be wasted. Which one is one of the reasons, one of the many reasons I stopped doing one-on-one calls. 50% of the people wouldn't show up on a call on time. That's annoying because I've already put in my head that the call is going to be from 1 to 2. After 2, I can go ahead and start this. And when somebody shows up on a call at 1:10, I got to call them and go through all that hell just to get them on the line. And they show up on the phone at 1:10, and then they got the audacity to expect me to sit on a call to 2:10. Those 10 minutes matter to me. I'm telling you right now, I don't like my time being wasted. I get frustrated. I hate it. It bothers the crap out of me. I don't know why it triggers me. I don't like my time being wasted. But it allows you to move forward instead of buzzing around a bunch of silly issues. It allows you to move forward. It allows you to build forward. Let's say that. It allows you to focus on what needs to be built, what needs to be torn down, and what rather than having to deal with the character of people that you were supposed to get. You were supposed to get your character in line before you came tap me on my shoulder. Even tell my girl, we got to do lunch sometime. Get your character in line. Unless you're just looking for mentorship or something like that. But don't tap me and talk about you want to be my friend and your character not in line. Ain't nobody got time for that. Because I'm not going to be on the phone with you, arguing with you about something dumb. You were on YouTube preaching, and I got mad because I felt like you were preaching about me. Oh, you one of those? I ain't got time for that because I'm not going to be buzzing around that issue every time I decide to go live. I'm not going to be scared to be like, oh, okay, I can't teach. Okay, we had a conversation about sexual immorality, and I wanted to do a lesson today about thoughts and well, hey, thoughts and tots, and now she gonna think I'm talking about her because she got a toddler. Oh crap! I used to live like that. Genuinely, as a leader, when I used to write articles, I used to deal with that fear because I would be sitting up there writing an article and then get a phone call from a friend, and I would be scared because I'm like, dang, now I can't release this article because she just got through telling me that her boyfriend hit her across the head, and I'm writing an article about abuse. I'm writing an article about abuse. I'm talking about don't duck, leave. That's the name of the article. Don't duck, leave. Now she called me talking about some girl. He tried to dip my head in, but my head responded and gave me a knot instead. Oh, girl, walk away. All right. Make sure I put a star by this so I come back to it. But it allows you to move forward instead of buzzing around a bunch of issues. Any relationship you have, platonic, romantic, familial, ministerial, or professional, you should be able to move forward and build. Now you're going to get tangled up in issues, right? That's okay. But they should be few and far between. They should not be, we can't even, okay, you wake up in the morning, oh, good morning. Oh, now we arguing again. I ain't got, it's too much. All right. Number 6. Rename number these here because I put these as a separate list, but we're gonna just move this. Number 6, it reveals the character of the people around you. This is the benefit of accountability because remember I said accountability will help to strengthen some relationships, but it'll also destabilize some relationships because if I'm accountable and you ain't, I'm going to close the door on you. That's not me being prideful. That's not me being a runner. She's a runner. She's a track star. She gonna run away when it get hard. I heard it on TikTok. Y'all got some funny songs out here now. But it's not that. It's just that I don't feel like being distracted. I don't feel like being distracted by dumb stuff. I just don't. I don't have time to be distracted by something that is as silly as you getting offended about something or something you wanted and I didn't agree with or what have you. Because healthy communication, we could have moved past that. Healthy communication, we could have talked past that. I could explain me. We could have talked and what have you, and we could have ended that conversation with a laugh. Half of the stuff that y'all take in friendships and every relational type and fight about is stupid. I don't like talking. Like I don't feel like putting condoms on words. Condoms on words. It's stupid. It's stupid about who drank all the milk. Just go to the store and get some more. Have a conversation with the person. Hey, here's a solution. Healthy communication. Don't go to a person with a problem. Go with a solution. Hey, excuse me. I think when we go to the store, we need to buy more milk. One, two. Once you notice that the milk gets to a certain, so this is the thing. Once milk gets here, the person that's getting the milk, you need to go to the store and get more milk. That's the new rule. Let's go ahead and implement that. You can get the fighting out, even with friends. Hey, listen, if I offend you, take the time out, think about it, pray about it, or what have you. Have a conversation with me about it, please. If you can't shake that on your own, after sorting, because the sorting process, a lot of times you'll find that everything that stack is bigger on your side. So that means I don't really need to confront this person. I need to confront myself. That is the purpose of the sorting process. It's for you to take accountability for your role. That's what helps to build trust. So if in this sorting process you see that 50% belongs to me and 50% belongs to you, or most of it belongs to me, then girl, come hit me up and say, hey, you did this. And you know what? If you're talking to me and I realize I've done wrong, I'd be like, girl, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. It wasn't something, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't malicious, not on my end. And I apologize. It won't happen again. Some of you get triggered when you hear that because you think the conversation is supposed to go on beyond that point. If you feel like the conversation is supposed to keep going beyond that point, it's supposed to get emotional. We're supposed to cry. We're supposed to yell. You got control issues. You got voids. You feel like we got to fight because you don't know how to have a healthy relationship outside of trauma bonding with people. If I sit back and I say, and I've done this, I said this to a relative of mine. I said, everything I've ever done to you, I apologize. I take full responsibility for it. And then I got quiet. Is there anything else you want from me? Anything you feel like you need from me? People, if your heart is not healthy, that will bother you because you don't know how to deal with that because that's too healthy for you. You need your emotions stimulated. You need a fight. You need tears. You need to be wrapped up, and then wrapped it all. So I'm sorry, okay. You leave me, don't leave me no more, okay? Oh, I'm sorry. That's toxic. That's toxic. That's not necessary. I know. What is that song trying to play in my head? Oh God, what's that song? I don't know who that. Is it Signs of Love Making? I don't know what that is playing. Goodness, but I found that a lot of romantic relationships, you may like. Oh, let's talk romance real quick. If you are a prophet or prophetic person, you probably like the fighting because you like the making up. That's toxic. You like to start a fight, get into an argument, and then break into the shower while your woman in there and be in there and just come in there crying. Sorry. I'm sorry. That moment you watch too much TV. You didn't watch too many chick flicks. I need you to change the channel. You like that kind of stuff. They go stand out in the rain and cry because you like your oxytocin. Prophets and prophetic people, you are oxytocin heads. You are dopamine heads. I'm sorry. You like to be out in the rain crying with your shirt off. Jodeci playing in the background. Where y'all at? Cause y'all ain't gonna. I know y'all in here. Prophets and prophetic people. That's what the prophets and prophetic people are quiet on me in this joint because y'all know y'all like that kind of stuff. You like to have Jodeci on or H Town or something and playing in the background, and you want to be standing out in the rain. You want to be sweaty in the rain and crying, and you want the person to come run over to you and hug you, and y'all just that's toxic. That's not healthy. If you think like that, then you're wiring. You're wiring. You got to deal with it. Because everything doesn't have to end in you having to get high off adrenaline and fear. And you got to bring that together with all of the oxytocin and dopamine and create this explosion by traumatizing another human being. Right? Or Keith Sweat. Name them. Name them. Come on, prophets and prophetic people. Name your folk. Name your people. Name your people. We want to play mind games. Y'all be wanting to sit up there and have a fight. I remember I was married, my ex-husband too. That stuff he would get me triggered, like triggered the Popeye eye. I'm talking about eye glow, like boy. And when I got Teddy Pendergrass, Babyface, come on. Oh, one of my songs. Well, I used to love when I was a little girl. The Deal, Three Occasions. Jim Morrison, come on. But y'all like to get that. I remember I got mad at him, and he would get turned on. When I got mad, when I was fuming, and I started talking crazy, because I wasn't all that delivered, and I started talking, bro, you can pack your stuff. Matter of fact, I will pack my own stuff. We can get a divorce. I don't even care. You can go about your business. You can go live your life, and I go live my life, and what have you. He would chill, relax, sit back, smile at me, and say, baby, I'm getting turned on. Betty Wright after pain. He get and I would look and I would be like, you nasty. I would just go off. It would annoy me because I'm like, that's not foreplay. Why is that foreplay for you? You guys got me laughing. Have it sit. Come on. All right, let's move on. I didn't see too many songs coming up over here. Backup plan. Listen. Well, get turned on. That's foreplay for the prophetic people. A lot of times you'd be like, it's raining outside. He finna start a fight. Ain't nobody got time for this bull crap. Can you please cut the TV off and let's just do something healthy? Listen, you want to do something romantic? Let's light candles. Let's put some slow music on. Let's dim the lights or what have you. Let's do all of the night. It ain't gotta be like it doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't. It doesn't. I'm talking because I want y'all to get it. All right, I want y'all to get it because good God. But it reveals the character of the people around you. Accountability. If I'm accountable to you and you can't be accountable to me, your character is messed up. That tells me that the relationship is one sided. Number 7, it saves you time, resources, and energy. This is the power of accountability. This is the benefit of accountability. It saves you time, resources, and energy. Time, resources, and energy. I won't waste my time on a person that is not accountable. I've had people that I would audition to be friends, right? They come around, they do something stupid, they do something crazy, and then not one time do they say, hey, I'm sorry. Not one time do they take accountability. Not one time. Instead, they wait for you to calm down and think, okay, once you're calm, we'll be able to continue building our friendship. No, we ain't. No, we ain't. We're not gonna keep building anything when you know you wrong and you can't sit back and say, I apologize without attaching an excuse to it. Without sitting back and say, I apologize, I was wrong. Because if you are one of those people that always think you're right, you won't make for a good husband, wife, friend, ministry, in a ministerial relationship, a good co-worker. You won't make for good anything. He said it was sexy. Right. A lot of people think like that. They be like, bro. So I pray God. Hey, when I get married, I always think sometimes maybe my husband has to be apostolic, but I don't know if that would be a good thing. Because for me, whenever I see apostles and prophets married, I think it's the funniest thing. People who have an apostolic calling on their life, people who have a prophetic calling, I think it's the funniest thing in the world because the apostle is more future minded, right? They're more future minded. Let's move on. The prophet is more, hey, come here, let's talk about it. They're more, let's dwell around this issue. And the apostle's kind of like, here we go again. Okay, we do it. You good. All right, you should be laid out asleep. All right, you good. Go to bed. And the prophet get up the next day. I think we should talk about it again. No, you get up. I'm tired of playing with your wires. Okay, let's go. All right, it saves you time, resources, and energy. A lot of you are wasting time in relationships that you didn't have to waste time in. You're wasting time in relationships. You're giving people 20 years of your life. You're giving friends 20 years of your life, romantic interest. You're giving people long spot times in your life when God gave you the way of escape. The minute a person cannot take accountability, that is a sign that the person is not healthy enough for a relationship. Accountability is something that's hard to take, but it takes you a person. You have to humble yourself constantly, and humbling yourself. I said I was going to talk about this. The reason people fear taking responsibility is because at some point in their lives they were controlled by another human being, or they felt controlled by another human being, and they fear being controlled again. And they've come to learn that when you're dealing with a controlling or narcissistic human being, what they do is they always try to find somewhere where you're wrong so that they can use that to control you. And so because they never really healed, got the language for it, they think everybody is going to do that. So even when they feel like they're wrong, even when they realize they're wrong, Sister Sarah, you're beautiful. Thank you, sis. God bless you. Even when they realize they're wrong, they won't take accountability because their fear of being controlled. Consequently, they will consistently sabotage relationships, which means that the narcissist in the past still has control over their future. I just got somebody delivered. The narcissist in their past is still controlling their future because of their relationship with the narcissist in the past, because of their trauma with the narcissist in the past. They think that everybody is trying to hurt them. They think that if you give these women an inch, they'll take a mile. So now I ain't gonna tell. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I did tell her I was about to go over to my brother's house, and instead I went over to my ex-girlfriend's house because she called me and she said that she needed some furniture put together in her living room. And even though we ain't doing nothing, I wasn't planning to do nothing or nothing like that. I knew she'd trip if she knew I was going over to my ex-girlfriend's house. So I told her I was going to my brother's house. Well, it turns out she ended up calling my brother's phone because she couldn't reach me. And the brother said I ain't heard from him in 3 days, and that was it. And so now she mad at me. She trying to figure out where I went or what have you. Then it got around. My ex-girlfriend decided to be shady and petty, and she took a picture of me and posted it to social media in her stories to show that she was hanging out with me, and my girl kind of had a suspicion or what have you. She called it women's intuition, and what she did was she went and she followed the girl, and she went and looked up in her stories, and when she saw in the stories me over there, she confronted me. And I was like, I knew you was gonna get mad. That's the reason I ain't say nothing, because you always be arguing and all of that kind of stuff. That dude gonna lose his relationship. And that girl, in many cases, is going to carry that trauma with her. If you don't stop to heal, you're going to carry a trauma. And the crazy thing about it is, I've been through some trauma. I've been through some traumatic relationships, right? I've been through a lot of bad stuff. And I thank the Lord for it. I can honestly say that because of the wisdom and revelation that He gave me from it. And then He kept me. He kept my mind. I wouldn't give the people from my past the satisfaction of coming into my future. I've forgiven them. That was the first thing, was to pull the cord of that. But just because, let me say this, because the average person, y'all heard me say this before, the average person will go to their grave without knowing what it feels like to be loved. Okay. Most of us, we can say we were married, we had kids with people, all that other stuff. But can you genuinely say you've ever been loved by a person? Think about it. Genuinely, wholeheartedly, not your definition of love, not BET's definition of love. Sister Katura, you're beautiful. Thank you, sis. God bless you. Not BET's definition of love. I'm talking about the Bible's definition of love. Can you genuinely say, we got 339 people on here? Can I tell you something? The majority of you don't know what it feels like to be loved outside of being loved by God and maybe being loved by parents. And some of you don't even know what it feels like to be loved by parents. Let's talk. Because somebody licking on you, breathing on you, staring you in your eyes and saying, I love you. I want you to have my babies. I want to be with you for the rest of my life. That person is oxytocin up, okay? That's not love. I'm sorry. It's not love. God blew my mind. When I was going through that second divorce, God said, you don't know what it feels like to be loved by a man. That, y'all. And I remember in that moment having two emotions that came and hit me. It was one emotion that wanted me to feel sorry for myself, but I couldn't pay attention to it. I was pushing it like, I ain't got time for you, because I started focusing on the excitement. That means if God is telling me that, he's saying that wasn't love. That means, good, I ain't got to worry about this crap no more in the future. So it helped me to understand, all men ain't like that. I ain't got to worry about this crap no more in the future. So what God was saying, at some point, I'm going to bring somebody in your life and they're going to have my heart for you. God said, I will give you pastors after my own heart. When he's talking about pastors or shepherds, he's not just talking about your pastor at church. Your husband is going to be your pastor. He's going to be your shepherd. He's going to be your covering. The average person will go to their grave, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and will never know what it feels like to genuinely be loved by another human being. They will have married, they will have had babies, they will have done all of those things, but they will not know what it feels like to be loved, because God is love. And if somebody says, I love you, what they're saying, you heard me say it before, if somebody says, I love you, what they're saying is, I have God's heart for you. If they don't have God's heart, they can't have God's heart for you. If they don't fear God, if they don't love God, because perfect love casts out fear, that's mature love. If they haven't gone on their journey with God, they don't have the ability to love you. No. They have an ability to assess over you. They have the ability to feel like they love you. They have the ability to sit there and think, I want you to have. When I was in the world, how many times I came and called myself in a relationship, had a dude standing in front of me who thought he was in love with me, talking about some Tiffany. Have my baby. They went on to have kids with other women. Now, that was my kryptonite. I ain't gonna lie to you. You couldn't tell me to have your kid when I was in the world. That was the worst thing you could say to me. That was insurance that nothing was gonna happen, because that let me know. But you have my baby. I was thinking about having kids with you. I want a piece of you. When I was in the world, you know what I heard when people said, I want a piece of you? Why would you say it like that? For me, I heard, I want a souvenir. I want to leave a souvenir with you. I don't plan to be around. So I want to leave a piece of me with you. I want to make sure that I have access to you for the rest of your life, because I see something valuable about you. And as I got older and I got into Christian, became a Christian, and I gave myself over to the Lord or what have you, I started hearing it from hey, let me get on one knee. Will you be my concubine? Will you be my concubine? Will you be a woman sitting in the background holding 2, 3 kids by me while I move on with my life and I go and impregnate other women? That way I can have repeated access to you for the rest of your life, because I do see a wife in you. I do see your potential. And I want to put my flag here and stick it right here and say, I, I want to stick my flag right here. I want to come to the hospital with you, build memories. I want to rub your belly, kiss your belly, all of that. But then as soon as the baby gets born, I'm going to leave, because I don't know what it feels like. I don't like how it feels to feel like I got to compete with my own kid while you're holding that baby, and I'm not getting all of the attention that I used to get from you. That's going to bother me. Because I'm gonna be a little bit jealous watching Junior sucking on your breast and you telling me to go to bed. I'm gonna get a little bit jealous, and so then at that time, because I don't know how to deal with that, I'm gonna start dealing with rejection. My rejection is gonna start flaring up, and you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go find me somebody else that's gonna get me on cloud nine again. And you know what? I'm gonna think I'm in love with her, and I'm gonna tell her I want her to have my babies. I'm gonna meet every moment of it. I'm gonna meet, but really, what I'm saying is, I want you to be a concubine. I want to be able to come back to you any given time. I want to be able to come over to your house. I want to be a monitoring spirit in your life. I want to be able to check you about the dudes that you date. Sorry, that's what I heard. And I think I heard the truth. Well, why you always fall asleep with the baby without me? Dude, listen, you knew what was going to happen. Okay? If we doing things that make babies, you knew what was going to happen. You knew what was going to happen. You the one that decided that you didn't want to do what was needed to prevent a kid. Okay? I don't want to go into all that. You knew what was going to happen. You were caught up in the realm of fantasy. You know, y'all, I'm going to say this and I'll move on. You know, people can get caught up in the realm of fantasy in a moment. And then that moment goes away the minute they sober up. Sometimes even after the big O, after they sober up. You know, you can get caught up in a moment because some of y'all kids are moments. And they just moments. Somebody got caught up in a moment and everything was feeling so good and everything was cloudy. And he thought, oh man, I love my baby because this is so good to me. And he decided, I'm going all the way. But then once it was over with, said and done, when everything, when it was over, he sobered up and he said, crap. He started talking to you about a plan B. Okay. Where was we? Number 8. Let's move on to number 8. These are 10 benefits of accountability. 10 benefits of accountability. Number 8, it helps you to do a better and quicker job at focusing or at forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself. It helps you to do a better and a quicker job at forgiving yourself. It is hard for most people to forgive themselves. We teach, we preach, we hold up the lessons about forgiveness. We give scriptures about forgiveness, how important it is for us to forgive our brethren, forgive the people that have hurt us, forgive the people that have mismanaged us, the people that have mistreated us, walked away from us, abandoned us, rejected us, abused us, the people who took us for granted, the people who didn't even know our value, right? We have trouble sometimes forgiving those people, but we've studied the stuff, we've done the work, we prayed about it, or what have you. But most of the time, it's not taught how to forgive yourself. And one thing I found is that the average person will go on to forgive other people, but they won't forgive themselves. They'll go on to forgive everybody that hurt them. They'll forgive, but they won't forgive themselves. Part of forgiving yourself is telling yourself that, hey, I messed up and it was stupid. It's taking accountability. And then telling yourself, I'm not going to do that again. And then giving yourself a working constitution to prevent you from doing that again. Remember, I told you, give yourself penalties. Give yourself penalties. So I'll say it this way. And I'm saying this, let's say couples. Husband goes out, has an affair, right? Common scenario, has an affair on his wife. Genuinely doesn't want to lose his wife. Genuinely wants to be with his wife. Genuinely has a measure of love for his wife. It's not perfect love, because if it was perfect, that means mature love, he wouldn't have cheated. But that's another story. But he genuinely, wholeheartedly has that moment where he realizes, man, I messed up. I made a mistake, or what have you. Best practice to the husband, to the wives, or what have you. Best practice is take accountability, say, I messed up. I can't blame nobody else but me. It's not that we weren't getting along. Stop doing that. Don't tell your spouse we weren't getting along. That's why I did that. We weren't getting along. That's what my dad told my mom when she discovered he had another kid. And this kid was 9 years old before we discovered this girl existed. And when it all came out, my dad's explanation to my mom was, you and I had been fighting a lot and we were separated at the time. my mom filed for divorce and divorced him. And I'm going to tell you something. My mom likely would have forgiven him had he sat back and said, "It's not your fault." Regardless of what was going on in our marriage, I was supposed to hold up my end of the commitment, for better or for worse. Regardless of what was going on, I didn't hold up my end of the commitment. And I'm sorry for that. I apologize. And regardless of what you decide to do, if you decide to stay with me, I can tell you I will be a better man. I will be accountable. I've already made a list of things that I'm going to do. I'm changing my phone number. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I will penalize myself. And if I do wrong again, I'm telling you right now, you can take this, you can take that. I'm telling you right now. Most of the time, relationships end because there is, right, get rid of the butts. There's a butt on it. And what comes out of a butt is crap, bull crap. Most of the times, when a relationship ends is because the person fears. Most people fear taking full responsibility. Most people fear saying "I'm sorry" because they're used to being gaslit. And you know what else I discovered? I discovered that in teaching, did you know if I teach and I make people feel like victims, more people are often they're more likely to show up than if I hold people accountable. If I'm sitting here, take accountability, heal, you're more likely to see people more retention if I say the reason you do that is because of what your parents took you through. It wasn't your fault. You make a lot of toxic decisions. You do a lot of things because of your fear of being left, your fear of being abandoned. It is a sign. It is your way of self-preservation. I've learned that even in communicating with people, I've learned it. If I'm talking to a person, they become defensive, and I start instead stop, talking about what they did and start telling them why they did it. They're more likely to take accountability and be like, "You right, you right." Most people like feeling like victims. It was just that time when I was with him and he picked me up and he threw me up against the wall and he threw a staple gun in my head and that thing hit me across the scalp right on the side of my head. It was, and that's the reason why you ain't got all your marbles. Rather than saying, "Girl, how long it's been since that relationship, like your head healed? Why hasn't your soul healed?" Yeah, I'm gonna deliver a concubine. Listen, amen, amen. I'm trying to get all the concubines on here delivered. There's some of them lurking. They don't want to come out of. They don't want to come out of hiding because they starting to realize more and more every time they log in my channel. And your ex boyfriend got you on check. That's why I ain't flattered when them exes reach out to me. I leave them jokers on red. If any of my exes looking at this right now, yep, I left you on red for a reason. I don't answer them. I'm not gonna answer no inbox message from no ex. They're not even on my friends list. I'm not answering no inbox message from a. I'm gonna leave you on red. Why? Because ain't nobody got time for that. I'm not your concubine. I'm not gonna be her. I'm not gonna be parked, and I'm not gonna explain to the right man while the wrong man is still contacting me. I won't mess up my future for my past. Why, y'all? Why? I'm trying to understand because I've never understood that even when I was in the world, when I scratch my head, that's really me trying. That's my brain cells trying to fire up. But I've never understood, even when I was in the world, why would a man or a woman destroy a relationship with somebody who is in their life, who has not done them any wrong, for somebody in their past who's done them wrong? Do you not see that the person from your past is only there because they thought that you weren't good enough, pretty enough, or healed enough to move on? And so now they're trying to chase away your future because they want to be the greatest thing you've ever had so you can keep looking back. Doesn't mean that they want you. I'm telling you, man, this may not be for you, but this is for somebody out there in internet land. Do you think that I would allow an ex, when I told y'all this story about when I was walking through the mall with the man I was married to, right? We holding hands, all in love, come across the next of mine, and he cuts off. And he stood there, he was like, "What's it been, Tiffany, 2 years?" And all that. And I was taken aback. Me and my ex, we fought about that scene for 3 years. Literally. We fought about that scene about that thing for 3 years. He will lie and said, I went back in the mall and talked to him. And he told me that you came up there to talk to him. I said, you a lie. You a lie, because I never did that. It was dumb to me then. And I tried to explain to him. I said, why? Yes, he's good looking. I don't deny that, because that's what he kept focusing on. But I'm like, but you good looking. I don't understand that. Sometimes good looking men are the most insecure men in the world. And I'm just like, do you not see yourself? Go look in the mirror. Yeah, he good looking, but why you don't know? But I would tell him, I said, Sister Rochelle, you're awesome. Thank you, sis. God bless you. And I would tell him, I said, why would I? This guy, obviously, Brother Brandon, you're awesome. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. I said, this guy obviously messed things up with me. He's not a part of my life for a reason. Why would I allow somebody who served as a fling to mess up my marriage? Come on, make it make sense. But because of his trauma, because of his past, he saw all women like that. I'm like, why would I? That's stupid. I never did go back up to the mall to talk to that ex. I never did. Never. It was dumb to me. I'm saying that to say, because I don't understand that, y'all. Yeah, I know y'all looking at you like, okay, move past this. But trust me, there's somebody that's either watching right now. There's people watching right now, and there are people that are going to watch replay who have and will and are allowing people from their past to destroy what they got. And the reason I'm talking is that if 10 people watch this, at least one of them is going to get it. It'll save somebody's relationship. It is stupid. I don't want to tell you that's not kind. You shouldn't do that. I don't want to Joel Osteen you. I just want to be Tiffany. It is stupid and asinine for you to destroy a current relationship for what was and what could have been. It is the dumbest thing in the world. And you deserve to sit there and whenever that thing doesn't work, you deserve to sit there and rock back and forth, because it's going to hit you then. Typically, it hits you when you lost the person. When you typically lose people, because a lot of times you can get comfortable in a relationship and think that the person won't walk away because they've taken your crap for so long, and then you don't and you get comfortable and you start thinking you got it like that, and then that person walks away. And when people walk away for what you've done wrong, you couldn't tell me if I'm wrong, because I've seen this. I've lived long enough. It'd be hard for you to move on. They'll move on because they know they did right. They know they did right by you. You won't fully move on because you will always deal with that guilt. You'll always deal with that, and you'll go from relationship to relationship, and you'll find out what I had was rare. And once you find out what you had was rare, that's when you sit back and start finding out. That's when you start reaching out. Hey, I just wanted to just call you, see how you doing. Don't call me. Right, I agree. When you come out of a relationship, I believe in changing my number. I will change the crap out of my number. I will change the crap out of my number because I will not allow my past to have access to my future. All right. We were on number 8. It helps you to do a better and quicker job at forgiving yourself. Remember, self-forgiveness is important if you really want to heal. A lot of healing is delayed because we hold everybody else to a standard that we don't hold ourselves to. Number 9, it enhances your memory. You won't have to lie or remember the lies you told. I don't block because people can go to a different phone. I've had those types of people that will call me from a different phone number and be like, hey, just talk to me. Just talk to me. No, if I really don't want to be talked to, I'll change my phone number altogether. Because, I always say this, you don't want to be on a date with Mr. Right with Mr. Wrong calling you. Because it's like an antenna go up in the realm of the spirit. Like the wrong people always get some type of message whenever you start meeting the right people. And they be like, oh, I think I'll call Tiffany. And you on a date like, so I've been single for some time. What's Tyrone calling my phone? I ain't talked to this boy like 9 months. So now, on the date, I don't want to hit the button like this because that's gonna make him feel some type of way. Like, why is she hitting the button? Then 2, I don't want to answer the phone and be like, hello? Why are you calling my phone? I'm out with somebody. You see how that? So I'd rather change my number. I'd rather change my number. All right. It helps you to do a better and quicker job at forgiving yourself. It enhances, number 9, it enhances your memory. When you don't take accountability, you will have a problem with lying. Can somebody tell me if I'm wrong? People who don't take accountability are usually trying to hide something because they're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of being left, abandoned. They're afraid of people taking control over them or taking power over them. They're afraid of the rabbit having the gun, what have you. So a lot of times what they'll do is they won't take accountability and they'll lie, or they'll allow you to come up with your own theory that's wrong, and they'll allow you to think what you want to think. And what happens in situations like this is that you're going to tell so many lies that you can't remember them. You'll tell so many lies that you can't remember them. I've had people to tell me lies, and I literally was thinking about this. I had a young lady that was just telling me lie, and she got a lot of voicemails on my phone and don't even realize that her lies, she just contradicted herself so much in her voicemails. Like and I'm like, wait, I remember that girl telling me this. Let me go back. Let me scroll through my message history. That child lied. She lied. So the thing about it is, when you don't take accountability, when you're not honest, when you're not upfront, a lot of times you'll tell sob stories, you'll tell all these stories in an attempt to make people give you stuff and what have you. You'll tell all these stories, but then ultimately you're going to be found out to be a liar. And then you can't remember everything that you said, which is going to cause you to become defensive. Why you keep asking me questions? Why you keep doing that? That right there is a sign that you have built a molehill or a mountain of lies, and the person is pulling that apart, and now you're watching your greatest fear come to life. You could have killed that right there in the moment and sit back and say, hey, let me be honest. I did this. It wasn't right, and I'm sorry. And allowing that person to make a sober and a conscious decision as to what they want to do, allowing that person to be angry, allowing that person to be hurt, allowing that person to be upset, allowing that person to feel what they need to feel, and you guys talk about it and deal with it. But if you sit back and you decide, I want to do it again, if you sit back and you decide, I want to remain in control, then you won't be accountable. And consequently, you will build a mountain. And I'm going to tell you something. This is what the enemy does, because the enemy is trying to herd everybody into something. What the enemy will do, he will let you build a mountain. He'll let you put years into something, right? And you'll be lying year after year after year after year, covering stuff up, doing all that, and you get to a point where you become a professional liar, easily offended. Your character is just deteriorating, decomposing, and breaking down. All of that, and one day that thing will come falling down. One day it'll take one lie, and sometimes it'll be something so small, something so minute that's going to destabilize that, and all of your lies will be exposed. And then you can't be the aggressor anymore. You can't be the person that's yelling anymore. In that moment, you'll find yourself begging. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I changed. No. But it's too late, because you gaslit and you mess with somebody's mental health for years. You know, when you're doing that to people, you're messing with their mental health. You're messing with their mental health. In that, because you've done that for years, people are less likely to forgive you because you built that thing out and you kept at it year after year after year after year. And year after year, they had to question whether they were crazy. They had to question whether they were insecure. Year after year, they had to question their own mental health. And then it get to the point where they realize that you allowed them to beat themselves up. You allowed them to deal with all of that torment. You allowed them to feel all of those feelings all of those years just because you were trying to self-serve. So by the time you get to the point where you are okay, I tell you everything, it's too late. It's too late, because there is nothing worse than finding out that your mental health has been triggered, messed with. All right. So it enhances your memory. That way, if I tell you the truth, I can tell you the truth again. Y'all notice I come on this channel, I'll tell you a story. It's the same story. I tell you a story. If I tell you a story I told you 5 years ago, I'm gonna tell you the same story. Right? But if I'm not honest, then what would happen is I wouldn't remember what I told you. If I'm defensive and I wouldn't remember what I said. Consequently, I'd be on here talking about something, and then somebody will catch it. But Tiffany, didn't you say it? Why are you doing that? I'm gonna block you. You see that? Because now instead of taking accountability, I got to defend what I built. All right, last one, number 10. It sets the stage for healthy communication. 10 benefits of accountability. Like I said, I'm going to do a class on healthy communication. It sets the stage for healthy communication. And like I said, most people don't understand, or most people have never had healthy communication over the course of their lives, so they don't know what it is. And I'm telling you from experience, there is nothing better than healthy communication. It is a beautiful thing to have a relationship or have relationships with people where you can be, healthy in your communication, where you can sit back and say, hey, why you why you cut your beard off? Don't do that. You look like a baby chimp. Let it grow back. And you listen, while they can sound offensive to the wrong person, it's funny. When you have healthy communication, you don't like me without my beard. No, I'm telling you right now, you look like a baby bird, and I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm not supposed to touch you or what have you. Don't do that. It sets the stage for healthy communication. Healthy communication is when you can be open and honest, when you can talk to a person and you don't have to worry about it turning into an argument or Leviathan twisting what you say. Healthy communication is when you feel safe enough to say, hey, I'm not feeling so good about what's going on in our relationship. I feel like we need to do something. I just don't know what it is. I just feel like we need to do something new because I don't feel like we're connecting on the same level. And y'all can talk about it because the other person be like, I've been feeling the same way. You know what I think it is? I think we've both grown. And I think we need to reintroduce ourselves to each other because that's a healthy part of the process. So one of the things I think that we should do is let's schedule some counseling. Let's get therapy so that we can make sure we work through this. You know what that does? It builds respect and trust because the person realizes that at this moment you could have exited the relationship, but instead you're saying I value you so much that this bothers me that we're not on the same page anymore. So now I want to figure out how do we get back on the same page because I don't plan to go anywhere. Right. It's a beautiful thing to be able to sit back and talk and say, you my sister in Christ, we had a conversation yesterday. I laughed. She said one of the things that she's going to start asking men because she saw something in her family. She called me. She said, "You know what I realized?" I said, "What?" She said, "When it comes down to men, I think I'm going to start having to ask them, what's your relationship like with your family? Like, how attached to your family are you?" And I started laughing because she's like me, and I know that's probably not the best thing, but I believe in family. I just believe in healthy families. I'm not one of those people that believe in staying connected to people who are intentionally and incredibly toxic and have no desire to change. I'm just not one of those people. I like my peace too much. And she said what she saw in her family, she was like, she said, I realized, she went to a family gathering and she was like, I realized, I need to ask, any guy that I'm talking to, how attached are you to your family? And I just started laughing. I was like, yeah, we can't separate people from family, but you can sit back and say, hey, listen, these are for me, I like my peace. Like I'm not one of those people that yo, I'm sorry, your family ain't coming to live with me. No, I like my peace. I'm not gonna have a bunch of folks coming up in my house talking about which room I'm sleeping in. No, we ain't. Nope, 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 nope. Ain't nobody finna come in my house smoking. Ain't nobody finna come in my house being cussing. Ain't nobody finna have sex in my house outside of marriage. It's stuff that just ain't going down. Just sorry. So because I feel like that, I believe in setting boundaries. I've already set them with mine. So I'm not gonna have all these solid boundaries set with my family and then let a man come into my life and then I'm just kind of like watching all this activity. And I'm just like, well, it was nice. Those years of peace and joy and being able to look up and see, Milo wagging his tail in peace. No, instead there's a toddler trying to ride the baby back and the mama ain't saying nothing. Anybody saw anybody saw my My Gatorade. I ain't had Gatorade in years, but anybody saw my Gatorade? Mm-mm. I've asked y'all time and time again. Respect this. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that with my family. I ain't doing that with your family. No. So we're similar in that. We're similar in that retrospect or what have you. But when she called me and said that, I just started laughing. I ain't dealing with that. I'm not gonna let nobody come into my house and take away my peace just because you forgot to set boundaries because you never set them. Yeah, don't mean I'm gonna sit up there and be like, oh, okay. And I think the hard thing, I think the hard thing for older women is that likely the men that we get with they're gonna be older, and they'll probably have older children, which is beautiful, which is great, you know. But I think the hard thing is a lot of times they may be set in their ways, and sometimes we talked about that at one point. Sometimes you have to sit back and say, hey, you can let your daughter or your son disrespect you. I'm not going to be your kids. Like I'm not going to be abused by your kid. Your kid's not gonna come around and cuss me out and talk crazy to me, and you be like, "She just trying to adjust." No, you better check her. Sorry, you better check her. You better sit back and say that's not cool, and this is what you're not gonna do. She gonna respect you, and you're gonna respect her. Hold me accountable if I'm doing wrong, right? So you gotta hold people accountable. You gotta hold people accountable. You can't just sit up there and be like, um, she just takes time. It takes time. No, because in situations like that, I've seen people go 4 or 5 years and they still being disrespected by the kids. I've seen 4, 5, 6 years later, they still being talked down on, and then you kick the bucket. Now they trying to fight you at the funeral. That's my daddy, baby. Your daddy didn't have no money when I got with him. What you talking about? Everything that came in here, that belonged to my dad. I ain't finna come in and fight. So that means that you want to make sure that people that come into your life have already set boundaries and set standards in their life, where they've already created a place of peace. So when you merge their peace with you merge your peace with theirs, y'all have peace. But if I gotta merge my peace with somebody and it's chaos, the devil is a fruit booty lie. Okay. But again, number 10, it sets the stage for healthy communication. Whenever you take accountability, it sets the stage when you can sit back and let me just say this before I go. Um, Healthy communication isn't always when people find out when you do something wrong. Is when you come forward and say, "Hey, I need to apologize for what I got mad at you, and I decided to put you on punishment, and that's not healthy, and I shouldn't have done that. So I wanted to come to you, and I wanted to apologize for that. I wanted to come to you, and I wanted to apologize, and I'm also going to hold myself accountable so that it doesn't happen again." It allows you to sit there and have a conversation with a person and say, but okay, no, I forgive you. But what was going on? You can talk to me about that. I was feeling like that. Well, that's not my character. I know. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Well, we just don't do it again. But how was your day? How was your day? How your mama? How your cousin? How your uncle? Listen, I just had a moment. I remember somebody posted river rat. I'm thinking, where did I see that? TikTok. I had a moment like, oh, just TikTok. I just remember a lady on the airplane called a girl a river rat. Okay. I was just thinking about that. But how was your family? And when people see, and I think there's an other side to this too that I didn't mention. I think it's important. When a person does take accountability, don't hold it over their head. Don't baptize them in their wrong. Don't make them wallow in it. Don't take because then they'll fear taking it again. Um, it immediately reminds me of this man that mentored me some years ago, really successful man. And I remember he said something to me, and he set a standard in my life. He didn't realize it, but he set a standard in my life. He said, me and my wife have been married for over 30 years. And he said, Tiffany, we literally don't fight. And I thought to myself, wow, how is that possible? How is that possible? So I questioned. I said, how? He said, in the beginning of our marriage, he said, I was young and naive, prideful, youthful pride, all that stuff. He said, she would try to give me advice. She'd give me wisdom, and I wouldn't listen. He said she would try to warn me about, other women I work with or what have you. And I thought she was just being insecure. I thought she was being jealous and all that. And he said, I will buck up against her. I tell her, you ain't about to control me, this, that, this, and the other. He said she never really fought me on it. She just left it alone. He said, so finally, everything she said came to pass. Everything she told him, she warned him about, he said it all came to pass. He said he got caught up in some type of scandal or what have you. And remember, he's a very successful man. He said he got caught up in a scandal. And he said, when I got caught up in that scandal, he said, Tiffany, not one time did she say, I told you so. Not one time did she try to make me eat it up. He said, he felt like he felt like the world was against him. He said, but not one time did she beat me up. And he said, to this day, he said, we've been married 30 years. He said, I trust her with my life. He said, I do all of the stuff, he said, everything that I do. He said, all the success that I have. He said, I owe it to her. He said, to this day, he said, we don't fight. He said, I trust her because I know she got my back. When she tell me something, I know I no longer think she's trying to control me. He said, that got that little boy out of me. He said, I no longer think she's trying to control me. He said, I trust her with my life. He said, if I'm talking to a female, like he said, even you, if she tell me, I don't want you talking to Tiffany, he said, bye. I said, that's how it's supposed to be. That has stuck with me because what it taught me was this. When a person is wrong, you don't have to bury their face in it. Literally, that's what I took from that. When a person is wrong, sometimes you can sit back, you can tell people, you can give them wisdom, give them revelation, give them understanding, and then you let them see for themselves. Once they see for themselves, they'll come to you and say, hey, I'm not doing that anymore. And it also builds trust. He said that 30 years married, super successful, super happy. He said that he pretty much his spaces. I remember him saying his space was in the basement. He turned it into a whole studio, right? He got his space in the basement, his wife's space, and he said, we're happy, we're secure. He said there's nobody on the face of this planet. And he was a very respectful man. And what he said has always stuck with me. Has always stuck with me. I always, to this day, I haven't spoken with him in years. I honor him for that. Oh yeah, he knows it's time for me to read the benediction. So you can see a little harness on. I took him for a walk earlier today. I'm leaving. I gotta go. I'll be back. I gotta go. I'll be back. He's like, no, you ain't. No, you ain't. He's gonna come over here and be like, what's going on, woman? What are you talking about leaving? What are you talking about leaving? All right. But what he said to me, when I said it changed me, that's the importance of mentors. Even the ones he mentored me for a season. And it was never an official mentorship, but it was a mentorship nonetheless. I worked with him and turned into a mentorship, but the time he poured so much into me that really changed my perspective on life. Really changed my perspective on life. It changed my perspective and it helped me to understand that whenever you're hosting a relationship, whether it's platonic, romantic, or heavy, don't bury people in their wrongs. Don't make them eat it. Even though I don't think I was doing it then, but it made me more intentional and conscious about it. Don't make people feel like like, oh, I've done wrong and now I gotta do 3 laps around the building. I gotta do this, because that breaks trust with people and it makes them less likely to be honest with you, because they're gonna fear your reprimand, right? They're gonna fear that. So that's the reason why even with my students and what have you, anytime I've had people reach out and say, hey, I want to apologize, I was wrong, I talked about you, I did this, I say, it is what it is, I forgive you, I love you. And I never hold it over their head. I don't make them jump through hoops and loops and all that other stuff, because at the end of the day, we're all human, right? But the ones very similar, and I'm closing behind this, very similar to what I said. The ones that are no longer a part of my life and will likely never be a part of my life are people who have trouble taking responsibility. People who have trouble sitting back saying what I did was wrong. Sister Suzanne, you're awesome. Thank you, sis. God bless you. I have trouble. People who have trouble saying, Tiffany, or even not even that, because sometimes people don't realize they're wrong. That's a real thing. Sometimes people they're like, well, I get what you're saying, but I don't see where I'm wrong. That's okay. That's where conversation comes in. That's where conversation comes in. That's why you have to have mentors and stuff like that. But having a conversation with the person and saying, okay, this is the way I see it. This is health communication, guys. Healthy communication 101. This is the way I see it. Okay, so Tiffany, I was this and I was doing this, and I thought, and this is how I felt. I thought I expected you as a friend to show up. I expected you as a friend. I had a conversation with a sister in Christ like that one time. She was like, I expected you to be, to show up for you to do this. And I'm like, I apologize. And she was like, and she cut me off. She's like, but that's not your thing. I get that. She said, I already know if I'm having a show, if I'm having something. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not personal. It's just literally, I don't like going out of my house. Genuinely. It takes a lot for me to drag myself out of my house. And so please don't put me on that type of schedule or what have you, but I will do better. That's healthy communication. Healthy communication. Sometimes you just got to have a conversation, and you got to learn how to have hard conversations and stop trying to preserve or stop trying to preserve your feelings and being afraid of the feeling you're gonna get if the conversation takes a left turn. That's a part of life. You got to be okay with conversation taking a left turn. Most of the time, when you're dealing with healthy, mature people, it won't take a left turn, but you got to stop being afraid of conversations taking a left turn and learn how to just sit back and say, I got to be honest with you. I did this and I was wrong. Or I don't literally, I genuinely don't see where I was wrong. Can you help me to understand? Who got help from this? I don't understand. I don't see where I was wrong, but can you help me to understand? Like from your perspective, and this isn't to say that I'm going to agree with you by the time this conversation ends. It is to say I want to see this from your perspective, because I understand we got our own history, our own experiences, we got our own lives. Like, I want to hear it from your perspective. I want to hear it from your perspective. If I hear it and I get an understanding from your perspective, and then I can navigate that, right? Because sometimes when people give their perspective, you're like, oh dang, I can see how you went with that. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think of it that way. That's why I love healthy communication. That's why I love healthy communication, because I've had many times where people, and I've done it, like, I didn't see it from that way. I'm so sorry. Or they said, and literally, what was a 3-month fight, or what could have been a 3-month or a 3-year fight, was killed in 3 minutes. It was killed. It was pulled down. It was buried. It was eradicated. It was set on fire. It was cremated in 3 minutes, because they simply opened their mouths and they said, hey, this is what I feel. This is my insecurity. This is my problem. This is this. This is that. Can I be honest with you? And then you allow yourself to be vulnerable with somebody. If you can't be vulnerable with somebody, you're in trouble. You got to allow yourself to be vulnerable. Vulnerability means that this person has the ability to crush you, to expose, to break you, they got the ability, but you trust that they won't use it. And you say, well, Tiffany, what if they do? It's a part of life. You just saw their character. You close that door between you and them, and you move on. Yeah, most time, majority of times, I would say, dare to say 90% of the times is 95% of the times is a misunderstanding. I found 95% of the times where I've had people to carry offense toward me for years on end. Literally, had they had a conversation with me, it would have been done just like that. And it baffles me, because I'm like, if they may tell it to somebody else, or I may think I know what they're offended about, and I could be right in many occasions. And I can tell you, it would have been eradicated in a matter of moments. Like, literally. It would have been eradicated had they just said, hey, Tiffany, this is my thought. And I would have been like, that's not true. That's not how I am. That's not my character. Well, I don't know why I was thinking that. I get it, but no, sis, that's not how I am. I would never do that. I would never do anything like that. You don't have to worry about that with me. And so typically what I do, we've had conversations with me being a teacher. Am I an author? Yes, I've written over 60 books. They're on Amazon. So type in Tiffany Buckner on Amazon. Um, I've had people to sit back and tell me, hey, Tiffany, one of the most common things as a leader that we get, especially when you teach like I teach, is like I said, sometimes you have people, if people get too close, they will start thinking you're talking about them. If I come on here and I talk about if I do a lesson on thotteries, somebody that's promiscuous that probably hasn't gotten themselves together sexually will likely be sitting up watching it like this. And so when people do that to me, I know to push them away, to put space between me and them, because I don't want to become too self-conscious about what I'm about to teach. Like if the Holy Spirit gives me something, or if I have something I want to teach, I don't want to be writing a note side and think like, crap, I can't teach that. Then they're gonna swear I'm talking about her. Or Tyrone gonna think I'm talking about him. And that was good too. Dang, these notes were good. I ain't dealing with that. Wisdom for the way, amen. I'm not dealing with that. I'm not gonna sit up there and put myself in a situation where I gotta deal with immature people. Where I gotta sit up there and be like, so let me call you and say, what can I preach about today? Because I'm thinking to teach about relationships, but you and I just talked about relationships, so now I'm scared to teach it. I don't want to have to get permission to teach. Oh, girl, no, I don't think you're talking about me. Go ahead. I appreciate you though. Mm-mm. No, those leader problems. Leaders have to deal with that. Leaders, even leaders in the pulpit, have to deal with people leaving the church getting mad, thinking he was preaching about me from the. It's annoying. It's annoying. You get to the point where you start teaching. Thank you, devil bait. I had fun writing devil bait. You get to the point where you start teaching, that becomes a very frequent thing in your life and what have you. It traumatized me at some point. I was literally traumatized. I literally didn't want to have any friends because I didn't want to have to deal with that accusation. But again, it sets the stage for healthy communication. We should all strive for healthy communication. I believe that, like this man told me, him and his wife didn't argue for 30 years. I believe that if you learn to have healthy communication with people, you can learn to have like conversations where you can trust and have a conversation with a person and say, hey, why didn't you do this? I'm so sorry. I'll do better. Or even the moment they have to check you and you know that they got your back and you like, I get it. I'm sorry. Or even if you don't want to apologize, even in a moment where you say, no, I tried to tell you, I was telling you this, or what have you, and y'all have a hard conversation. Y'all got to get to the point where you become comfortable with that. Because sometimes you are keeping people distant. You're keeping people away from you because they can't have that hard conversation with you. Or because whenever they do try to have a hard conversation, you're getting offended. Looks familiar. Oh, wow. Thank you. When they do have the conversation, you're getting offended. I've made it a point that when a person reaches out to me, when people, any person, any friend or former friend, none of them will tell you they ever reached out to me and I was nasty to them. None of them. Now they will tell you some of my, I don't respond to them. I stop responding to them. You know why? Because every time they reached out, every time they did something wrong, they had a pattern of doing wrong. And whenever they did something wrong, they never took accountability. After that, I'm not talking to them. I made it up in my mind. I don't want to deal with them because I don't feel like going back in this cycle. I don't feel like learning the same lesson again. But I pray that this blessed you guys. I pray that you got something from it. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a lesson on healthy communication. Oh, let me mention this. I just officially released my relational acuity series. It is on Amazon right now. Relational acuity 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There are 5 books in the relational acuity series. Will help you to it will help you. They will help you to understand relationships, how to build healthy relationships with people, who to have close. And there are seasons where some people you bring close, and then there are seasons where you have to. Those people can't walk close with you. There are people in your life that's supposed to be in your intellectual circle. That means that they're not supposed to be intimate with you. That means that there are certain things, like you got to learn how to navigate your tongue, how to be careful that you don't say certain things to a person that's in your intellectual circle, because you can easily bring them into your intimate circle just because you had a moment and you didn't have anybody to talk to. So you told them something that was, something that was sensitive, and consequently you end up having to bring them close because you feared what they would do with that information. So in this particular book, this book series, when I tell you, it's probably one of my best. If you get that and get the book of boundaries, your relationships will be, not just get them, read them, and apply them. You will see a big shift in your relationships, your mental health. So, Relational Acuity series is now out on Amazon. It's been out for about another a week or so. But Relational Acuity 1, Relational Acuity 2, Relational Acuity 3, Relational Acuity 4, and Relational Acuity 5. I highly, 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 highly recommend that you go and get those books. They will absolutely bless your everlasting life. Okay. I love you guys, and I shall talk to you later. Like I said, go get the books. They will bless you. I will talk to you soon. All right. Bye bye.